back. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. Today we're starting the Game of Thrones book vlogs, and I'm super excited. We have been talking about this for a while. We've officially finished Game of Thrones, the show itself. I have done a full reaction to those, so if you guys would like to go check those out, you're more than welcome to. But I've been very, very eager to read the books, and I'm really excited. I do know going into this that the books are not finished yet, which is a huge bummer. But at the end of the day, I still think it would be really fun to kind of just like get more immersive in the world, see things through the characters' perspectives, and kind of just learn more that wasn't included in the show, because naturally things are going to get left out between, show and book. So I think that's going to be really fun. I'm really excited. Y'all know I'm a big book reader. And at the end of the day, I just really honestly, I prefer to read things through the book, and I think that's a big reason why I haven't seen much, is I just feel like you get so much more context, and so you just understand the story so much better when you're in the book, and you understand the characters so much better, and I just love being inside a book. It makes you so much more immersive. So I'm really, really excited. And I think for like a few of these characters, I'm really excited, especially for like Jon and Dany. Those are the two that I really struggled with when it came to the show. And y'all definitely knew that. I had a really hard time with Jon because I just couldn't understand his mindset sometimes. And a lot of times it just came off as very like haughty to me. So I'm really eager to get Jon in the books, because y'all were telling me in the comments that Jon in the books is actually very different from like Jon in the show. So I'm very eager for that. And then I'm also very eager for Dany in the books, because I had a really hard time with Dany in the show. And I think the entire time we were with Dany, like from season 1 all the way up to season 8, I just couldn't get on the Dany train because I couldn't understand her. And, one minute she was one way and the next minute she was another way, and she just always seemed to flip-flop. And there was so many times where I was like, I just really wish I was in Dany's head. And we're finally going to get that in the books. So I'm really, really excited to get more into our characters' heads, kind of understand the characters a little better, and just like read them as a character and like read the things they go through their perspective. So I think that'll be really, really fun. And I'm super excited. But I am doing the book reactions on top of filming our reactions, and on top of editing our reactions, and on top of editing the book vlogs, and on top of that, moving. So I have a lot going on for the channel right now, so I will give you guys a heads up that these book vlogs will take a little bit longer. I will try to get through them as fast as possible, but I am planning on doing parts for YouTube so you guys don't have to wait forever. So I'm thinking maybe once a month, hopefully, we'll have like half of a book up for you guys. And then, a month later, we'll have the other half up. And if you would like early access, the way we're styling this on the Patreon right now is I am reading each week, and then each week on the Patreon every Thursday I'm uploading like an early access book vlog for you guys. So if you would like early access to the book vlogs, you're more than welcome to check out the Patreon. They're getting uploads once a week for these book vlogs, and then you guys will just get them once a month as I edit them and work through them and whatever. So I'm really excited for this. If you guys want me to add anything into these, let me know. This is my first book vlog ever, but I'm super, super excited. And like and subscribe if you're up to it, besties, but let's read our book. Also, guys, for the first time since we've watched the show, I'm finally going to look at the map. Isn't that crazy? Guys, I live my life without looking at the map, okay? If you read a lot of fantasy, you know, it gets tedious, man. It gets tedious. But let's see. Okay, so we have Deepwood Motte over there. The Last Hearth. The fun thing about watching the show already is I know what some of these are, but I really like this little key we have over here. We have ruins and ruined castles. I wonder if we get lore on that, like why they're, abandoned or whatever. Oh, we have the Iron Islands on here too. Ooh, each island has a name. That's cool. Okay, we're definitely gonna have to be checking this. Let's do it, guys. Look how pretty. I'm so excited. Somebody had said that there was like a guide of the houses at the back, but mine doesn't have that, I don't think. But we have the other half of the map on this side. Normally, most fantasy books have like a 2-page map where it like goes on both pages, but ours is front and back. I see. Three Sisters. Isn't Three Sisters a real thing too? Or I'm thinking of Oregon. Y'all know what I'm talking about? We have the Reach. The Reach is in the middle of the South. Where's King's Landing? Faircastle. Wasn't Faircastle the one we were gonna give Bran? Or am I thinking of something else? Oh, guys, this is so different than what I imagined. God's Eye is in the middle of the land? Is that why it's called God's Eye? Because it's like an eye in the land? I was thinking, because we have God's Eye and then Isle of Faces, which we've learned about, and then Harrenhal's right next to it, which we learned about in History and Lore, I think like season 1. And I had thought it was on the coast, but it's in the middle of the land, and that's where they did the treaty with the children of the forest and the first men. Guys, I'm learning so much already. Wow. See, it's kind of fun to like look at the map afterwards, because then you can be like, oh wow, Dragonstone is so close. Wait, that means that King's Landing's got to be like right over here, right? Claw Isle, that's sick. Where's Valyria? We got Valyria on here? I really hope we get to learn more about Valyria. I think Valyria is so cool. Okay, y'all, let's read the prologue. Enough yapping. I want you guys to see the book, but this is heavy. I typically read on a Kindle, guys. I'm already learning, guys. I'm 2 lines in. Sir Waymar Royce? You're telling me douchebag from the beginning episode, first episode, you know, opening scene? Douchebag is Lord Royce's son? Nah. So higher up guys at the wall get kind of made fun of because they think they're hot shit. Jon's got some trouble when he joins. Mormont. Ooh. Will got sent to the wall because he was hunting on Mallister land? So like if you were hunting in the forest and it was the Mallister's forest and you got caught, that's a crime? That's crazy. Oh, interesting. They base how cold it is based off of if the wall is sweeping or not. I think it's interesting that the guys of the Night's Watch... Sorry, Trevor has a toy in the back. I think it's interesting that the guys of the Night's Watch have like a gut feeling when it comes to White Walkers. Like both Jared and Will have both like noticed that like something's off. Like their gut is just telling them. That's crazy. Interesting. Fire keeps away the White Walkers? The others made no sound. Is that what we're calling the White Walkers? The others? Ooh, the White Walker's armor changes. He said it changes colors as he moves. That's sick. Ooh, interesting. The White Walker's weapons isn't ice, it's crystal. I thought it was ice this whole time. So that like long shard of weapon they have, that's crystal. Oh, that's so cool. The shifting patterns of their delicate armor making them all but invisible in the woods. I wish they had like found a way to add that into the show. Ooh, the White Walkers talk, but not in English. For Sir Waymar Royce said for Robert. King Robert? His sword just broke. It's interesting that his sword didn't break immediately. In the show, it breaks immediately. In this one, it like froze after fighting them for a certain amount of time and then broke. The White Walkers even laugh? Oh, that's terrifying. Oh, Sir Waymar Royce stood back up. Dead. Ooh. Will died? We go over to Bran. Dang, y'all, we literally have only read the prologue, and I have learned so much already. First of all, the White Walker's weapon is crystal. Second of all, they talk? They can laugh? That's terrifying. That is terrifying. That's an element I wish they had added to the show because that would have made them so much more like daunting. Because to me, like they never talked. Like they just kind of stood there all silently. But knowing that they have like their own language and they can like mock you and stuff makes them so much more scary. And then on top of that, I'm pretty sure Will is the one that was the deserter in the beginning of the show. But in the book, Sir Waymar comes back as a white and kills Will, which I kind of wish they had added to the show, but I understand why they didn't. They're adding like a little element of surprise to the show, but that's interesting. Very good prologue. I love the way he writes so far. It's very easy to like immerse myself in this. It was the 9th year of summer. I can't remember if the show told us that or not. That's a long summer. What do you mean? What do you mean we have a rumor that the wildlings' women lay with the others in the long night to sire terrible half-human children? That just unlocked so many things in my brain. What? Oh, the one who escaped was Jared. But Jared is an older man. It was opposite in the show, right? Oh, Bran is 7. Ooh, their sigil's different. It's a gray direwolf racing across an ice-white field. Words. Jon is 14? Oh, he's just a baby. Interesting. Jon has gray eyes in the book. I feel like that's already a hint to his heritage. I think he's the only Stark that doesn't have brown eyes. Oh, I lied. Robb has blue eyes. Never mind. But Jon having gray eyes so dark that they're almost black is definitely a little nudge. Dude, Bran has crazy stories about the wildlings. They carry off women and sell them to the others? Some of this has gotta be true. I love that the man who passes the sentence to swing the sword is also in the book. It's a fire line. Jory's in here. I missed Jory. Why are we so out of focus? The antler being the thing to kill a direwolf. Very interesting. Oh, even their direwolves are the same gender as them? That's so cute. The direwolf count had only come right because Jon had omitted himself. Sweet Jon. I already like him so much more. Poor Jon. Jon got Ghost. Bran made a comment that Ghost was the first one to like have his eyes open. Interesting. We get a Catelyn chapter. That's so fun. River Run is like very close to the Eyrie. And it's also very close to Casterly Rock. Oh, so the Tullys do have a Godswood. Oh, Ned built her a sept. That's so cute. So all the faces in the trees were carved by the children of the forest. Or the green men. What's a green men? Ned is a tough father. He said Rickon is 3, he can't have any fears. That's sick. Ice was made in Valyria? Before the Doom? How did we get it? Ned thinks all of these slip-ups are Mance Rayder. He said he might have to go meet him eventually. Interesting. Maester Luwin will tell you that the others never lived at all. This is why we can't trust everything Maester Luwin says, y'all, because he's wrong. Ooh, Brendan? Am I saying that right? Kat's uncle? Isn't that the Blackfish? He's waiting for her for Aunt Liza at the Vale. I'm hoping to get more on him too. So we're already wary of the Lannisters, but there's not like a huge hatred there. They're just more salty that they joined the cause because it was obvious that they were just trying to better themselves. Cute! I'm loving that we get chapters with Kat because I feel like we didn't get much into Kat's head. But Kat is really noticing like all these signs are really sus, and I thought it was also interesting too that she mentioned like Ned doesn't pay attention to signs. That's interesting. I would think it would be opposite where she's more like black and white and Ned is more skeptical, but it seems the other way around. Dany! Ooh, the violet in your eyes. Dany has violet eyes? Dany's 13. Interesting. Illyrio never had a friend that he wouldn't cheerfully sell for the right price. Very interesting that Dany's 13 and she's already like noticing how crafty people are and noticing like things don't come for free. Ooh, we already got a mention of the Red Priestesses. They're just hanging out and singing, apparently. We're on page 25. Her brother Rhaegar battling the usurper in the bloody waters of the Trident and dying for the woman he loved. Yo, I would have caught on so much sooner if I had read the books first. Like, the way we're not even mentioning names, like, that's so obvious. Ooh, while the Kingslayer opened Father's throat with a golden sword. Jaime didn't stab him in the back in the book? Sir Willem Darry, that's who saved them. Do we know that person? I don't think we know that person. Oh, they were homeless. They were homeless and just kept moving around, and Viserys was paranoid about assassins. Only smart thing Viserys has done. Dang. They called Viserys the Beggar King? Dany didn't want to know what they called her. Oh my gosh. I mean, as much as I dislike Viserys, he kept Dany alive. I will give him that. That's gotta mean something, right? All Dany wanted back was the big house with the red door and the lemon tree. Oh, poor thing. Dany's water is scalding hot. I like that that detail was added into the show. Ooh, the fire is in our blood. I like that. Drogo was rich? He had a castle in, Vias? Bruh. She had always assumed that she would wed Viserys? The line must be kept pure, Viserys had told her? That's crazy. Why didn't they marry? If that is the Targaryen custom. Because he needs money from Drogo? Khal Drogo? Dragons didn't mate with the beasts of the field, and Targaryens didn't mingle their blood with that of lesser men. Damn. That just goes to show how much Viserys didn't care about Dany, because if he's willing to, like, water down her bloodline, basically, then, like, he really does not care about her. Oh no, they put a collar on Dany? Ooh, Illyrio was a Lord of Light follower. Very interesting that that's like where Dany starts, is with like Lord of Light people surrounded by her. So have the Red Priestesses and Lord of Light people like always been after the Targaryens? Like, has that always been a thing? Ew, Illyrio kissed Viserys' ass. So Dany knew he had never used his sword in earnest. LOL. I love how we're just roasting Viserys. Viserys said that the Greyjoys would back them. Interesting. Dany has a big natural instinct to like mistrust everybody and everything. That's very fascinating. I'm also wondering if Viserys was very paranoid about assassins. I'm wondering if that's because he thinks he's hot shit and there actually was never any assassins. Because, like, Robert just didn't care about him. Or know about him. But Viserys uses, like, the whole assassin mindset to make himself sound more important. Jorah's here. Ooh, Jorah is one of Drogo's blood riders? I don't know why, but I never put that together. If that's true. Ew. When Illyrio placed a moist hand on her bare shoulder. Yuck. He is Aegon the Dragon Lord come again. That's sick. Talking about Khal Drogo. Oh, poor Dany. Her brother hurt her sometimes when she woke the dragon, but he did not frighten her the way this man frightened her. Oh, see, this is the context you get in the books that you don't get in the show, because she had said in the show that she wants to go home, and in the book she's kind of like explaining that there is no home for them, just like anywhere but here. She wasn't talking about Westeros. She was just talking about like somewhere safe. That's so sad. Oh, poor Dany. Oh. It's like we knew Dany's story was rough, but like getting to be inside her head while this is all going on, it just adds so much more context and depth to the story of like, she's first of all 13, which is never brushed on in the show. Like in the show, I think they aged them up because we have Jon who's 14, Dany who's 13. Why are we out of focus again? I'm sorry. And we kind of just get to be more in her head during this, and you can just see how like she's very untrusting, which I already really like because I never really got that vibe from Dany in the show. But in the book, she's very untrusting. She's very wary of everything. She thinks she knows everything comes with a price, and she's just like waiting to pay that price. You know, like even the gifts she gets from Illyrio, like she knows it's not free, and it just feels like she's constantly waiting for that shoe to drop, you know? So I'm already like really liking Dany a lot more than in the show, because in the show I've just never been able to get inside her head and understand her more, where it's like I've only read one chapter with her and I already like understand her so much more now. So it's very refreshing being in the books. We're with Ned. I think it's interesting that the Kingsguard, they have snow white cloaks. I don't know why, but I felt like in the show their cloaks were kind of like an off-white. I kind of wish it was like snow white cloaks because I really love the focus on like the cloaks being white in the Kingsguard. Muscled like a maiden's fantasy? I'm weak. Interesting. Ned hadn't seen King Robert for 9 years before this. That's crazy. That's a cool custom. They put like swords in their laps to keep their ghosts from wandering. That's fun. Dude, Lyanna was only 16. That's crazy. Page 35. Promise me, Ned. There's so many hints already. The crazy thing is like in the show, we didn't get hints about Jon's heritage until like, at least until I picked it up, wasn't until like season 5 or 6. You're telling me page 35 of book 1, there's already hints? Nah, I would have caught on so much sooner, you guys. I bring her flowers when I can. Lyanna was fond of flowers. Interesting. They wanted Robin, Aaron, I think that's the little kiddo's name, to be a ward to Tywin. That would have been insane. Taking away Warden of the East from Robin Aaron, but who is he giving it to instead? Did we talk about that in the show? I don't remember. What the king dreams, the hand builds. I kind of like that saying better than the one in the show. See, if Ned had believed in omens, he would not have taken this Hand of the King offer. But Cat said he doesn't believe in signs. Jon. But Jon's just getting drunk right now. You're telling me Joffrey was 12 years old and taller than Robb and Jon? That's crazy. This is what a king should look like about Jaime Lannister. Yuck. Just kidding, Jaime. We love you, king. I love that Uncle Benjen is like taking the time to spend time with Jon. Make a sound. That's why he's named Ghost. Which is also interesting because Jon is on the more quieter side so far. Daenerys Targaryen was only 14 when he conquered Dorne. Interesting. Jon has like a Targaryen he looks up to. And then Uncle Benjen said, well, he was only 18 when he died, so. I do like that Jon is very observant, though. I never really noticed that when we first watched the show. Because he said he's never gonna sire a bastard. Poor Jon. I like that Tyrion is interested in Ghost. Jon said he's not scared. What is it with the Starks and like fear? So far, like Jon and Ned have been very like, oh, we're not scared of anything. Tyrion said all dwarves may be bastards, yet not all bastards need be dwarves. Sweet Tyrion. And for just a moment, Tyrion Lannister stood tall as a king. I like Tyrion so far. I feel like when we first got introduced to him in the show, he was very like sassy and snarky. Where with this like conversation with Jon, he's very kind and sweet. I don't know. That's the vibe I got. On to Catelyn. There's like a little bit of tension between Cat and Ned because of Brandon. That's interesting. I also find it interesting that Cat is kind of like encouraging him to go. And she's like, but Sansa's gonna be engaged to Joffrey. Cat has a little bit of wanting some power in her, maybe? I feel like every chapter we get with her, she's always talking about like this gut feeling or this feeling of dread. She just has these like intuitive thoughts. But I also am finding it very interesting that the note that we're getting from Aunt Liza is not from a raven. It's from a box, which means that opens, the can of worms of like somebody else is in on this. Was Littlefinger in this party? Because we haven't talked about Littlefinger or met Littlefinger yet, but I feel like that's the biggest tell to me is like this isn't coming from a raven. So somebody in this Lannister party is, like a part of this. We're learning tea right now, y'all. So Kat is explaining that she's not mad that he has a bastard. Like she's not like mad that he like went and hooked up with another girl. She even said like, oh, man has needs, which is crazy because I'm a jealous queen. That I would lose my mind. But she's mad that he brought Jon home and called him son. It's like more of like the principle of it rather than it being jealousy. It's more of like the principle of like most men don't do that with their, illegitimate children. And then she goes on to say that she's heard rumors where he kills Sir Arthur Dayne, which we saw in the show. And then like somehow Sir Arthur Dayne had a sister with haunting violet eyes and potentially Ned hooked up with her. But then when she asked Ned about that, he kind of like shut it all down and said, never ask me about Jon. That's crazy. I didn't realize Sir Arthur Dayne had a sister. What happened to the sister? Curious. Ashara Dayne? Sir Arthur Dayne's sister? She's got to be a part of this somehow. Because, y'all, read this with me. Ned said, now I will learn where you heard that name, my lady. Talking about Sir Arthur Dayne's sister. And then she had pledged to obey, she told him, and from that day on, the whispering had stopped, and Ashara Dayne's name was never heard in Winterfell again. That means something. She's mixed up in this somehow. Lore that I'm learning right now, I'm loving it. Because I always knew she didn't like Jon, but we never really got answers as to why. We never got like, the background on it. But she said that she couldn't bring herself to love Jon and she would have overlooked it if he was out of sight. But when she has to look at him and look at him grow up and he looks more and more like Ned every day, it makes it worse. That's crazy. And also, why does he look like Ned? Y'all are throwing me for a loop with this whole heritage thing. You're telling me that if Jon had kids, they could potentially contest Rob's kids? Like, let's say Rob has kids and Jon has kids. They both can contest because, like, y'all, listen to this line. They're talking about Jon. It said he would father no sons who might someday contest with Catelyn's own grandchildren for Winterfell. I thought, like, no rights at all. But there's a possibility? That's crazy. And we're also sending Jon to the Night's Watch just because, like, gets him out of sight. Like, basically, like, yeah, get him out of here. That's crazy. I didn't realize, like, I had, in the show, like, Jon wanted to go to the Night's Watch. Okay, he's going to the Night's Watch. But, like, as we're sitting here talking about it, it's just because, like, we have no idea what else to do with Jon. And that is so sad. And Sansa's quick to remind her that Jon's their half-brother. Maybe when Arya was born, there had been nothing left for her. Like, Sansa took all the good stuff. So Arya's, like, jealous of Sansa. I never really, like, got that vibe. Whenever she's escaping her needlework, she goes and hangs out with Jon. That's cute. Weird comment. Jon had their father's face as she did too. They were the only ones. And then it goes on to say that she was scared that she was an illegitimate child too, like Jon. And Jon reassured her. Sweet Jon. Weird comment. When we have like heritage in the mix and comments like that are said, like they always mean something, you know? I don't know, that's weird, y'all. That's weird. She just told Jon that women are important too. Period, queen. The boys are fighting. Robb and Joffrey. They're doing like a little sparring match. And Joffrey is suggesting steal. Oh, Robb is only 14 too. That's crazy. Are Joffrey and Robb the same age? Sansa's 12. Robb is 14. I mean, Joffrey just made this comment of like, come and see me when you're older, Stark, if you're not too old. Joffrey, if Robb had gotten that sword, your ass would be beat. Bye. I think Joffrey's 12, now that I think about it. Uh-oh, Arya. I think it's cute that we get a lot of Jon and Arya scenes, because, I mean, we knew they were close, especially, like, that scene in the show when Jon gives her needle, but you don't get to see, like, all these small little moments where she's, like, raging over needlework and raging over Sansa, and then she goes and hangs out with Jon, and they watch the boys fight. Like, that's really cute. I'm loving those little scenes with them. Today is not my filming day, so you are getting crusty, dusty me with no makeup and my hair a mess. Let's read. The Red Keep is built by the Dragon Lords? It was built by the Targaryens? I can't remember if we were told that or not. And if we were, I completely forgot. But that's very fascinating. I didn't realize the Targaryens built the Red Keep. That's awesome. And old Nan said that there's ghosts there. Spooky. Guys, I have spent so long trying to avoid spoilers for House of the Dragon, and I just know they're inevitable at this point. And I just found one. The twins, Sir Eric and Sir Eric, who died on one another's swords hundreds of years ago when brothers fought sister in the war that the singers called the Dance of Dragons. I wonder if that's in the show. Interesting. Aww. Sir Barristan is like a legend. Like, Bran has been like dreaming of meeting him. That's so cute. Robb called his direwolf Grey Wind, which I don't think we ever learned Robb's direwolf's name in the show. Interesting. Bran used to climb because he would learn kind of like the secrets of Winterfell when he would climb. That's very smart, Bran. It's so interesting that Bran's always been such a climber. It's like, in a way, he's already been like a little raven in the branches, you know? Like, he's always just been up there. He likes to see everything. Interesting foreshadow there. Oh my gosh. Not Maester Luwin making like a little mock Bran and launching it off the walls. That's hilarious. Ooh, he's climbing. He found Cersei. Well, he doesn't know it's Cersei yet. Jaime said, give me honorable enemies rather than ambitious ones. I'll sleep more easily at night. I also find it interesting that this like whole combo was kind of cut from the show, because this is why Bran was listening. They're talking about Ned. And Cersei knows that Ned chose Hand of the King for a reason, for them. Which, she's not wrong. I thought this was Littlefinger's plot. See, a part of me is still convinced that like Littlefinger and the Lannisters were in on this because it's just too convenient that it was all Littlefinger. And I feel like really big crafts like this when it comes to Jon Arryn, like I feel like most people are like more than one person is involved in the mess. You know, like I just feel like Littlefinger is crafty, but he wouldn't have just done it to do it. Like I think him and Cersei kind of conspired together on this. Because Jaime is talking to Cersei right now and he's like, she's fine, like she didn't go tell Robert, like it's not that big of a deal. And then Cersei's like, well, she's at the Eyrie now. Like, she might get more bold because Aaron is safe, or Robin is safe. And Jaime says, whatever she knows, whatever she thinks she knows, she has no proof. Or does she? So they know. They know that Jon Arryn was poisoned. And they're acting sus, like they were a part of it too. I don't know, y'all. She's also worried about Ned because Ned could bring up old memories and have Cersei be kicked to the side. She's also worried about power. This is so fascinating. I wish this conversation was in the show. Not Bran watching them. Uh-oh. Bran had already slipped before Jaime went over there. The things I do for love. Crazy. Interesting, when Bran fell off the tower, there was crows circling the broken tower. Typically they circle like something dead, but I still feel like that's a little nudge at Bran's future. I really liked that conversation between Jaime and Cersei though, and I kind of wish it was kept in the show because it just adds more context, because obviously there's like the shock factor of the Lannister siblings hooking up, but at the same time, like, that whole conversation was tea. Like, we get to see why Cersei's so paranoid, why she feels so off about Ned, which like we never really got the full answer for in season 1, of like why she was so unhappy about being in Winterfell and like about Ned Stark. And now we can kind of see why, is it brings up a lot of past memories with Lyanna, and on top of that, like, it could jeopardize Cersei's future. And then it still seems like they were a part of this Jon Arryn plot. And I do think Littlefinger definitely played a big part, but a part of me still feels like the Lannisters were in on this. It just a part. I could be delusional, y'all. I could be, but a part of me still feels like they were like, they at least knew about it. You know what I mean? We get a Tyrion chapter. Ooh, Tyrion's reading Valyrian scrolls about war. That's sick. Aw, Bran's wolf won't be quiet. That's so sad. Tyrion stays roasting Joffrey. He said the Starks can count past 6, unlike some princes I might name. Tyrion said only Jaime had ever shown him the smallest measure of affection or respect. For that, Tyrion was willing to forgive him most anything. That's so sad. Poor Tyrion. Tyrion's checking their reactions to Bran. I'm happy to be in his head for this scene, because in the show I was like, I wonder what Tyrion's thinking. Like, does he suspect? And I think he definitely does. Interesting. I would swear that wolf of his is keeping the boy alive. Is it because they're linked with their warging abilities? Tyrion said that when they shut the window to shut out the wolf's noises or howls, Bran would weaken, so they have to keep the windows open. Definitely connected. Ooh, Jaime was hoping that Ned would stay behind because of Bran's fall. So Tyrion does suspect. Because when we were watching in the show, I was like, does he suspect? Like, am I overthinking this? Because he was asking them weird questions. But being inside Tyrion's head, yeah, he definitely suspects. And that's so fun. You know what's so interesting to me is Bran, when he fell in the show, was just, crippled, and that was that. But in the book, he's being described as kind of like a bird. Jon makes a comment where he said one of his hands looks like a claw. and he's like shrunken, he's like small, like a leaf, and his legs are bent. I don't know, it's giving very like bird vibes. I'm also wondering if Bran is Kat's favorite, because earlier in the book, like a couple chapters ago, we had Kat who was like begging to keep Bran. Like for some reason, like she really wanted to keep Bran. And then now she went to the Sept and prayed for Bran to stay. And she like blames herself for all of this because she prayed over it. Ugh, she's so harsh to Jon. Nah, y'all. First of all, we have a little comment from Jon, which is a very interesting comment. He goes to say goodbye to Bran, and he like squeezed his hand and he said, "Fingers like the bones of birds." So many hits. Then he's leaving, and Kat says, "Jon," and he normally would have just walked out because he's like, "F this hateful bee," right? But this is the first time she's ever called him Jon. And so he stops. And you know what she says to him? "It should have been you." I don't remember her saying that in the show. That's foul. Like, you're going out of your way to say horrible comments to him. That's where you're losing me, Kat. Because, like, I've always known she didn't like Jon. But when she's going out of her way to make these really effed up comments to him, that's where you're losing me. Because, girl, just hold your tongue. Like, come on. He's a kid. That's so effed up. Sweet Jon. I remember him doing this in the show, but it's just like, it's so sad to read about it, where he's like saying goodbye to Rob, and Rob's like, "My mom." And Jon's like, "Oh, she was kind. Don't worry about it." And he said Rob looked relieved. Jon is so selfless. That's so sad. Nymeria kind of like backs down when Ghost is in the room, so I'm wondering if like Ghost is the top notch of the wolves, even though I thought in the show he was called the runt of the litter, but maybe he's not, because I don't think they said that in the book. Same Arya. She just threw all her clothes into her little bin. Same girl. Who's got it folded anyways? It'll fit. Aww. Nymeria guards the door. That's so cute. The sword that Jon made her is the same style of swords that they use in Braavos, Pentos, and Myr. That's so cool. Their little don't tell Sansa. How cute. Aw, different roads sometimes lead to the same castle. Who knows? They better say that when they reunite, if we ever get a reunited scene in this book. Or in the next book that he'll never write. I also think it's so cute that they're so similar that they like finish each other's sentences. It's like adorable. Like they both came up with the word needle at the same time. That's so cute. It's so sad being inside Jon's head and kind of like seeing just how much he kind of like holds his tongue and he just takes it. Like there's so many scenarios, especially with Kat, where he's like avoiding going to see Bran because he's scared of seeing Kat, or it's like the first time he ever spoke up to her today because he wanted to say goodbye to his brother. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, it's really sad to be inside Jon's head, because it's one thing to see it in the show and it's a whole nother thing to like have his internal thoughts during it, where he's just like he's just so used to it. Like he's just like, whatever. It is what it is. Like that's so sad. Poor Jon. We're doing our book vlogs in the chair today. Danny! Dang, there's 40,000 Dothraki warriors in Khal Drogo's mix. And that's not including the women, children, and slaves. Oh, interesting. So in season 1, the reason why Dany and Drogo are walking around all the time is because they're doing a procession. Duh. So they're going to the Dosh Kalen at Vyas to kind of like show off Dany. I see. Not Jorah just trying to give Viserys counsel. And Viserys is like, I'm gonna cut your tongue out. There are no more dragons, Dany thought, staring at her brother. Yet that night she dreamed of one. Ooh, she had a dream that a dragon killed Viserys. Damn. Not Viserys jealous because it's Dany's wedding day and she's like seated in a better spot than him, basically. Aw, she's talking to herself. She said, I am blood of the dragon. Oh my gosh, 12 men had died the day of her wedding. Ew. She just got her handmaidens, and this is fun. This wasn't in the show, but each one is like for a specific purpose. Eerie is for writing, Jackie is for Dothraki tongue, and then Doria is for the womanly arts of love. Yuck. Dany just got her dragon eggs, but it just leaves me with more questions of like, where did the dragon eggs come from? Like, how did we get these? They're from the Shadowlands beyond Ashai. Like, surely there's like a story there with that or something. Also, that's such a crazy gift. Like, knowing like Westeros now and knowing like a little bit more about the world, imagine getting dragon eggs. Like, that's such a big deal. Ooh, she got weapons. That's cool. Oh, she gave him to Khal Drogo. That sucks. The horse that Dany was gifted is gray, with a mane like silver smoke. That's cool. The horse in the show is like white, like her hair. But I guess, I mean, in the books, is her hair more silver than white? Like it's more of like a grayish, silverish color? Because he just said silver for the silver of your hair. She said, tell Khal Drogo that he has given me the wind. That is so cute. Poor Dany. She's so scared of this wedding night. Rightfully so. Okay. That was very different from the show. In such a good way. Why didn't we add that in? That just adds so much, like, depth to Drogo's character. Like, he was just so gentle and wary and kind. That's not what happened in the show. At all. Drogo just won so many points with me. On to Ned. King Robert just went on a very long ride with Ned. We're gonna talk about secrets, aren't we? The little comment about Jon's mother. She must have been a rare wench if she could make Lord Eddard Stark forget his honor even for an hour. He said no woman wants Baelor the Blessed in her bed. The fun thing is like King Robert's voice is the same voice in my head as it is in the show. Like, it just fits so perfectly. We got something from Lord Varys. It's about Dany. So Ned went to go kill Jorah because the Mormonts are the Stark bannermen. And so, you know, Ned passed a sentence. He was going to go swing the sword. And then Jorah just took some ships and fled. Interesting. Varys tells me that spies are more useful than corpses. Breach. Shall we send her a wedding gift? The subtle little lines is so fascinating. They're talking about the Targaryens and Tywin and Elia Martell, and Ned said Ned had named that murder. Robert called it war. Yikes. So Ned and Robert actually did have a lot of tension in their friendship because of what happened with the Targaryens and how that was handled. And Robert still, like, to this day, like, despises Targaryens. Robert said, and Rhaegar, how many times do you think he raped your sister? How many hundreds of times? So how long were Rhaegar and Lyanna around each other? What I do find interesting about Robert is like in his grief for Lyanna, it's turned into like this rage for the Targaryens where it's like through and through, that's not like, instead of him like cherishing Lyanna's memory and loving her memory, like every time Lyanna's brought up, he brings up war, or he brings up killing somebody, or he brings up the Targaryens. Like it's like this obsession with the Targaryens that's like covered over the memory of Lyanna. Like Lyanna doesn't get her own memories with Robert. It's always like Lyanna and Targaryens paired together. You know, we never get like a moment where he's just appreciating Lyanna for Lyanna. And I think that's very fascinating. He's too blinded by his rage. Interesting. Another big part of why Ned didn't like the marriage between Khal Drogo and Dany is because there's still people in the Seven Kingdoms who call him usurper. Who? We gave Warden of the East to Jaime? So now the Tywin is Warden of the West? Yeah, Warden of the West? And then Jaime's Warden of the East? You're setting yourself up for a Lannister takeover, Robert. You know that, right? Ned said the same thing. He said, no man should hold both East and West. Thank you, Ned. Ned thought his sword helped taint the throne you sit on. Yikes. I also think it's so interesting that Jaime cut open the Mad King's throat. Why did we stab him in the back in the show? I mean, Ned isn't wrong for being so wary of the Lannisters. Like, imagine the Lannisters who were on the side of the Targaryens, basically, and then they automatically switched up. You know, like, you can't trust people like that. Go down into your crypt and ask Lyanna about the dragon's honor. And it immediately brings us back to Promise Me, Ned. It would have been so easy for Jaime to just stay seated and for them to have that throne. It makes me so curious, like, now that we know, like, Jaime as a character more and kind of the full story on it, like, of course he got up, but, like, it could have been so easy for him to, like, take that moment and keep the throne. That was a good convo. That was a lot more in depth than what we got in the show between Ned and Robert at their little, you know, brunch table. This one is interesting though because they actually like rode away from everybody and had this conversation, which I had always thought it was kind of weird that they had that conversation in front of all those men. But this one was a lot more like secretive, a lot more formal. And I just feel like it's fascinating to me getting more into Ned's head because we knew like Ned didn't trust the Lannisters and he wasn't a big fan of them, but getting to be in his head for that thought process, it makes so much sense. Like it's like you're looking in at your best friend and the only reason you have this throne is because all of a sudden last minute the Lannisters decided to switch up and then they just start slaughtering people. Like obviously you're gonna be like, we can't trust those people, they're gonna do that to us too. So I think it's very fascinating. It definitely gives Ned a lot more merit for his mistrust with the Lannisters because he's not wrong. And I mean Robert is very lucky that Jaime isn't that type of person because if Jaime was that type of person, they could have taken over so fast with him being Warden of the East, Tywin being Warden of the West. Then he's also, you know, the Kingslayer and he got to sit on that throne. He could have never gotten up from that throne. Like there's so many things Jaime could have done to swindle and to take over that like Ned is very right for being wary. It's crazy. Y'all, before we start reading, I have some things that are stuck in my head that I can't get out that we need to talk about. First of all, first things first, Ashara Dane. I cannot get her name out of my head. And we're only like, what, chapter 12 and something, and y'all know, I have it up here. But Ashara Dane was mentioned once, and I can't stop thinking about her. And I feel like she is very important to the story with like Jon Snow, heritage, you know, whatever, that whole mess. But I don't know, part of me is like, okay, was she friends with Lyanna, like whatever, like I'm really like trying to think like how Ashara is important because that whole combo with like that moment we had with Kat where she was like, Ned banished me from saying Ashara's name, basically. That threw me for a loop because it would be one thing if it was like Sir Arthur Dane or just like the Dane family in general, but it was specifically Ashara. And we've never heard about her from like watching the show. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, who the heck is Ashara? And even Sir Arthur Dane was only brought up into the show once, and it was that vision we had with Bran. But to me, I'm like, okay, it would make a little more sense for like maybe like the whole Dane family to not be mentioned anymore, because like obviously they're involved in the Lyanna mess, and so like Sir Arthur Dane is obviously involved in that, and like whatever. So part of me is like, why is it just Ashara that we're not allowed to talk about? And Kat had made the specific comment of like Ashara Dane's name was never mentioned in Winterfell again, and I'm just like, why Ashara? Like, why that one name? Why not like Sir Arthur? Why not all the Danes? Like, Ashara has something to do with this plot. So I'm really hoping I get more on Ashara, because my brain is already crafting up theories and thoughts. I'm like, who is Ashara? How is she involved in this? I know she's in this somehow. I don't know. Just thought I should mention that. But let's read. Ooh, there's a place called the Wolf's Wood. I'm wondering if that's where Nymeria like made her little family later in the story. There's a lot of comments about how different Ghost is. Tyrion just made a comment that Ghost is very unsettling and that he like didn't join in the howls with the other wolves. And then there's been comments from quite a few other characters about how just like different Jon's direwolf is. That's fascinating. Why Jon's direwolf? Why is it different? We know it's albino, but Tyrion felt sorry for the boy. He had chosen a hard life. Or perhaps he should say that a hard life had been chosen for him. Poor Jon. Ooh, interesting. The Lannisters never declined anything. They always take whatever's offered to them. Tyrion took books with him. I love it. He's reading about dragons right now. That is so cool. I just learned about dragon bone. It's black and it has a high iron content, strong as steel, yet lighter and more flexible, and impervious to fire. And then there's dragon bows with which the Dothraki use, but they're very rare. That's so sick. I didn't even know like dragon bone was a thing. Can we do like dragon bone armor? Ooh, Tyrion has a fascination with the dragons. And the dragon skulls are black. Their bones are black. That's so cool. Interesting. He said all that remained of the last 2 hatchlings born on Dragonstone. I'm wondering if we'll meet those 2 dragons in House of the Dragon. Guys, I watched episode 1 of House of the Dragon today, and then Vhagar is mentioned. So the names of, I'm sure we've been told this in the show, but it's really hard to remember, but the names of the 3 dragons that Aegon and his sisters had was Balerion, Meraxes, and Vhagar. And Vhagar was mentioned in today's episode. The Field of Fire is so cool. I want to see it on screen. It's interesting that it was the only time that all 3 dragons were used in Westeros. Oh, Tyrion requires a saddle of his own. That makes a lot more sense as to why he was able to give Bran, like, plans to make a saddle later. He said Jon has the Stark face. Long, solemn, guarded. Whoever his mother had been, she had left little of herself in her son. Actually, Tyrion, I think it's the other way around. Damn, so Tyrion has, like, an obsession with dragons. It wasn't just like a little like, oh, I wish I had a dragon. It was like an obsession. He said, I used to stare at the flames for hours pretending they were dragon fire. And then he said, sometimes I'd imagine burning my father or sister. Insane. Ghost just knocked Tyrion over. Maybe he thought you were a grumpkin. Tyrion and Jon bonded. I think it's interesting that Tyrion is very much like no nonsense. Like he just tells people how it is. I think that's really fun about Tyrion. But there's so many talks of dragons in Tyrion's chapter. And I think that's very fascinating. Cat is crashing out because of Bran right now. Rob said he'll do it. W. Rob. Ooh, interesting. Kat's talking about like when Ned left. And she said he had no choice, he had told her. And then he left, choosing. Yikes. That would suck. That whole scenario would suck. Because at the end of the day, Ned really kind of doesn't have a choice. Like, what is he gonna do? Go tell the king no? But it still sucks because, like, you have a kid who's literally about to die. Oh, poor Rob. Rob said he needs his mom. He doesn't know what to do. It's crazy to me that Rob is only 14. Oh, Cat is really crashing out. She just said to, like, kill the dire wolves because they're making too much noise. That's so interesting. She's, like, obsessed with Bran. And, like, naturally a mother would be because this is very, you know, a terrible situation. But at the same time, like, it's like a bad obsession at this point. Where there's, like, a fire in Winterfell and the only thing she cares about is getting Bran out. Ooh, the assassin's here. Celeste has joined us. Let's hope she doesn't step on the keyboard. Can't see anything. Dang, even in the books she grabbed the dagger with her hands. That's insane. Aww, Bran's wolf licked the blood off of Cat's hands. Oh my gosh, the cuts in her fingers were almost to the bone. That's insane. Well, I mean, of course she was crashing out. Homegirl hadn't slept for days. All they suspect Hodor knew, but because he can't say anything other than Hodor, they couldn't really figure it out. That's crazy. They don't believe her that he was there for Bran? Y'all. Rob calling the shots. Go, Rob! Cat now appreciates the wolves. Fair. Ooh, the dagger is Valyrian steel, but the hilt is dragonbone, which we just learned about. Rob said he was gonna kill Jaime. Okay, Cat is going to King's Landing. She's gonna, like, go a different route and try to get there before them, which is interesting. Sansa said, Sansa didn't really know Joffrey yet, but she was already in love with him. Oh, honey, you got a storm coming.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Oh, we're at the Trident. Ooh, Arya's gonna look for Rhaegar's rubies. That's sick. Not Arya picking flowers that were poisoned. Aw, Arya likes to talk to the people too. That's cute. It's interesting. Arya talks to like everybody there, and Sansa views all those people as like lesser than her. I think it's interesting they're supposed to be like riding in the queen's wheelhouse or whatever. I think it's interesting that Cersei is very like no direwolves and Marcella is scared of the direwolves. Oh, Sansa just got embarrassed. There's like this big group of people around her. They're all like kind of making fun of her for having a direwolf. That's crazy. Having a direwolf would be so cool. Joffrey said the wolf is her little pet, that's all. Oh, Sir Barristan is here. Who's the other one? Said they had like an antler helmet. I'm wondering if that's Renly. It is Renly. Interesting. Aw, Sansa doesn't get to go in the little carriage today. Bummer. That's so crazy, like Joffrey seems so nice so far. I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. He's like defending Sansa and like making sure she's happy. But I know y'all were telling me in the comments like to be careful because a lot of these POVs are very like biased. So I'm wondering if like we're looking at Joffrey through Sansa's eyes right now, and maybe like from an outsider perspective he's being a little douche, but because Sansa is so like enraptured by this guy, she's just like seeing all of this as like swoon material. Like he's so amazing. That's probably what it is. The way he had rescued her from Sir Ilyn and the Hound, it was almost like the songs. Serwyn of the Mirror Shield saved Princess Darissa from the giants? Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight championing Queen Nerys against Sir Morgil? Who the hell are those people? Sansa said, I love writing. Little liar. Aw, she left her direwolf behind. See, Sansa's so, like, caught up in this little world that she wants that she's willing to kind of, like, jeopardize who she is as a person. And that makes me so sad. Like, she's willing to kind of, like, turn her back on her sister or, like, say what needs to be said or leave her direwolf behind. Like, she's kind of willing to do anything to fit in with this group of people. And it's so sad. Oh dang, so Joffrey and Sansa like went and explored together all day. You know what's hilarious is like I feel like this version of Joffrey, Sansa's version of Joffrey, would honestly fit better with Arya because Arya likes to like go explore and go do all this other stuff, and Sansa doesn't like to do any of this. Ew, Joffrey sang for her? Uh-oh, they're gonna go find Arya right now. Joffrey is like bullying Micah right now, and Sansa's blaming it on the wine. No, Sansa, Joffrey's just psychotic, girly. But how could she have known, to be fair? Arya smacked him in the head! I don't remember her doing that. Oh, she like broke his head open basically. His head is bleeding. Arya's throwing rocks at him. Oh no, Joffrey's horse is running. Ooh, Joffrey started like trying to attack Arya, like literally. Nymeria! Ooh, his eyes snapped open and looked at her, and there was nothing but loathing, nothing but the vilest contempt. Yikes. Sansa, this is where Joffrey becomes psychotic. I'm sorry, Queen. I hate to tell you this. That man is crazy. That was a good chapter. That was a longer one, but it's fun getting inside Sansa's head because in the show, I've always kind of like justified Sansa's actions of like, she's just naive, you know, like she didn't know any better. But in the book, I feel like it's a little different. And I don't know if like this was the intentions for the show and maybe I just read it wrong, but in the show I had always, you know, been like, oh, she's just naive, like she doesn't know any better, you know, it is what it is. In the books, she's a little brat. I'm sorry, she's a little brat because she acts like she's better than everybody. And I have a hard time with characters like that. So I'm interested to see what happens with her character development as we go forward, because in the books she's bad. She's bad because she's like talking to Arya, and Arya's like doesn't mind like talking to people even if they're like lower in station than her. Like Arya just sees people as people, and Sansa makes a little comment of like how they're lower than her, and she just like will change things about herself to fit in with this group. And then that makes me question that note that she sends Robb later. I'm like, I want to see how that plays out, because at this point in the story I wouldn't be surprised if Sansa was like happy and willing to write that note because she wants to fit in with this group so badly. So I'm wondering how different Sansa's going to be from book to show, because show, she genuinely was like naive, gullible, innocent, like easily manipulated. In this one, it's a little different where she's more of a brat. I don't know. I could be wrong. We'll have to let her character development cook because I'm not loving Sansa so far. But I think that's just because I'm more in her head and she's, you know, more haughty, more stubborn, whatever. But Homegirl's a little delulu. She's a little delulu, just a teeny bit. Oh my gosh, Arya was out in the woods for 4 days after she attacked Joffrey? I thought it was the same day. Oh, interesting. They're staying at a place at the Trident. The Dairy family, they were loyal to the Targaryens. Not Renly laughing because Arya threw Joffrey's sword in the river. I also think it's interesting that Ned was the one who called in Sansa, and in the show it was Cersei who called in Sansa, but I actually kind of like the Cersei version better. Ooh, Cersei like tricked Robert into killing Sansa's wolf. In the show, we obviously know like she demands that Sansa's wolf be killed and Ned agrees with it, or not Ned, Robert agrees with it, but in the book it's more of like she like manipulated him into it. She's all telling him like, oh, when we first got married, you would have done it. You see, Sansa's better than me because I would actually crash out if I got a direwolf. Then my sister's direwolf attacks somebody else. Then my direwolf gets killed for it. The way I would crash out, the way I would probably be dying with this wolf, it wouldn't be good. Interesting. We're getting so many shifts from King Robert. We had Ned who like used Lyanna against him to get him not to do it, and then that didn't work. And then you have Ned who is telling him to at least do it himself and have the courage to do it himself. And then Robert didn't do it. And I think this is kind of a point for Ned where he realizes like, this isn't the same Robert he used to know. Aww, freaking Ned is so cute. He called Jory in and he told Jory to bury Lady in the North and that Cersei wasn't gonna have this skin. You know what's crazy too is they just brought back the butcher's boy and like we saw Ned's panic at the beginning of the chapter, and it makes me wonder if Ned was maybe a part of him like wondering if they would bring back Arya dead and then say like an accident happened to her but in reality they had killed her, because we know how much he mistrusts the Lannisters, so for him to be so paranoid about them finding Arya before him, it makes a lot of sense because of just how distrusting he is in them. And then literally like right after he sees the butcher's boy, and like, I'm sure he's thinking like this could have been my daughter. That's really scary. Man. Ooh, interesting. Bran is hearing voices in his head.
No, Harry. Even in the wizarding world, hearing voices isn't a good sign.
What the hell am I reading? It's just a dream, Bran said. Is it? Asked the crow. I'll wake up when I hit the ground, Bran told the bird. You'll die when you hit the ground, the crow said. Did Bran die when he fell? And that is why he's the three-eyed raven? Bran has been dead. Am I tripping? I'm tripping, aren't I? Well, I have this like new theory now. Like, what if when Bran fell, he actually died? And what replaced Bran is not Bran. It's the three-eyed raven. That wouldn't really make any sense. But I mean, magic doesn't really make sense. So do we have to make it make sense for it to work? I don't know. That comment is very interesting. He's three-eyed raven right now. He's hanging above the entire world. He said he could see the whole realm and everyone in it. He hasn't woken up yet. So for book Bran, I feel like his three-eyed raven process obviously starts now, but like, what if it's replacing Bran? You know, like Bran himself died and the three-eyed raven has taken over his body type of thing. Do I sound crazy? Damn, he's seeing everything. He's seeing Kat on her way to King's Landing. He's seeing Ned in the whole lady nonsense right now. What do you mean there's shadows all around them? Each Stark has a shadow around them, one dark and one light. And the dark shadow has the face of a hound? Is that a symbolism of their direwolves? What does that mean? What's going on? Bran's having a whole three-eyed raven vision right now, you guys. And he's just a little baby. This is like the third chapter I've had with him. He said he went over to Vias Dothrak and saw that. And then he went over to the Jade Sea, to Ashai by the Shadow, where dragons stirred. There's dragons in Ashai? What are we talking about? Y'all, this is insane. This is insane. This is like 2 pages of just like so much. The crow said, "Now you know why you must live, because winter is coming." So Bran is definitely needs to be a part, or is a part of this big White Walker plot. 100%. Because he looked at the heart of winter, got freaked out, and then the crow made that comment to him. So like Bran is definitely a very heavy influence in the White Walker. I know they're not called White Walkers in this, but in the White Walker plot. See this right here. Now Bran, choose, fly or die. I 1000% believe that if Bran did not choose to fly in this little three-eyed raven vision, he would not have woken up. Just saying, just saying. He decided to fly with the crow. He's flying. He's awake. He's awake. I'm calling it. He's not Bran anymore. He died in that fall. I don't know how it works, but it works in my head, okay? Ooh, interesting. Bran also felt a sudden pain in his forehead before he woke up. He's finally opened his third eye, y'all. This is why he named his wolf Summer. He had just seen a vision of like winter, basically, and he was like, let's name the dire wolf Summer. Bran's awake! Guys, is my theory a crackhead theory? Like, does it not work at all? I feel like you guys are gonna be in the comments being like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But like, from all the little comments from the crow of like fly or die, or like if you, what did he say? Hold on, let me find it again. He said, so Bran is like in the vision with the crow, right? First like couple pages we get in this chapter of him, and he's kind of like re-looping this vision of him falling out of the window, and he's like crying and he's upset, and then the crow's like, you need to fly. And then Bran said, I'll wake up when I hit the ground. The crow said, you'll die when you hit the ground. As in, like, we're talking like past tense, like this has already happened. So it's like already like, if you hit the ground, you're just gonna die again type of thing. Like, that's how I picked it up. So from what I'm getting from that, and I could be off my rocker, y'all, I might be off my rocker on this one, but Bran is dead. And he is now the three-eyed raven. Like, he's obviously like still Bran, but the only reason he's still alive is because of the three-eyed raven. And that's the only time he woke up, is when he chose to fly, because the crow was like, fly or die. So like he either had three-eyed raven or you die. This is a mind F. That was a really good chapter. That was so good. Okay, we're on to Cat. Also, guys, yesterday I filmed a video, like a vlog video, and then I went back through and edited it, and I was like, this is the worst angle I've ever filmed in. Like, I looked terrible, so I'm really sorry about yesterday's video. Also, I did want to mention, I know I said I wanted to try to finish this in a month, but at the same time, with all the editing and filming that I do, I really want to be careful not to rush through this. So it might be a little longer than a month. So I just figured I would give you guys a heads up that it might be a little longer than a month, because I don't want to like rush through it. I want to take my time with it and have fun with it. So I'm going to try to do as many chapters as I can in a week, but I'm not going to like go crazy with it, if you know what I mean. Okay, so Catelyn is hoping to talk to Sir Aaron Santagar. He's the King's Master at Arms. See if maybe he knows where the blade is from. Ooh, Edmure came up with the nickname Littlefinger. Oh, interesting. The last time we saw Littlefinger was when he tried to duel Brandon Stark, and then Kat's father sent him away, and then Kat hasn't seen him since. That's crazy. She said, he wrote to me at River Run after Brandon was killed, but I burned the letter unread. I wonder what was in that letter. Probably some craft and schemes. There's a place in King's Landing called Visenya's Hill, and that's where the Great Sept of Baelor is. And then there's also a hill called Rhaenys, and that's where the Dragon Pit is. That's cool. So Aegon the Conqueror built the Red Keep, and then Maegor the Cruel completed it. And I haven't really heard much about Maegor until we started House of the Dragon episode 1, and Maegor was mentioned like 2 or 3 times. So that on top of Maegor the Cruel, I'm assuming Maegor was like not a good man. Ooh, Maegor the Cruel finished it and then killed everybody, so that way they wouldn't know the secrets he built into it. I want to know the secrets. Interesting. So Kat stayed in an inn, and then Littlefinger like called for her. She didn't get like found out the minute she rode in. She like was in a pretty discreet spot, which means Littlefinger has crazy spies. So Littlefinger worked with Varys to find Kat, to figure out that Kat was there. But also interesting is he didn't meet Kat in his brothel. They're in the Red Keep right now, which I think is much more fitting. I will say, maybe it's just because I already know Littlefinger, but like from this point, I already can tell like Littlefinger is not trustworthy. Like Kat is trying to hide from him like the truth, which is already like a red flag. Like if I was reading the book for the first time, never seen the show, and we have Kat and Littlefinger and they grew up together, and she's in King's Landing for this dagger business and she's refusing to tell Littlefinger, like that's already a red flag. So like that to me makes Littlefinger already very sus. And then he's like sitting here like trying to convince her, and he's like, no, my lady, that's not you. Like tell me why you're here. Like he's coming off so much more suspicious than when he did in the show. Maybe that's just because I already know him. Ooh, Varys, his breath smells like lilacs? He eats lilacs? That makes me think he's on like some type of drugs or something, because don't you get like, I don't know, there's milk of the poppy, so what do you get out of lilacs? Varys said there are men in the free cities with wondrous healing powers. Say only the word and I will send for one for dear Bran. Tea. Varys giggled like a little girl. Oh, Varys went straight in with, I wonder if you might trouble us to show us the dagger. Damn, Varys isn't playing. I also like this a lot better, where she is like kind of being forced to tell Varys and Littlefinger about the dagger, because I always thought it was kind of weird that she went to King's Landing, immediately like trusted Littlefinger and immediately told him about the dagger. Like I always thought that was kind of weird, because she was like so big on like secrecy and like getting there all subtly and whatever, and then the minute she arrives she like starts spilling the beans on this dagger. But in the book it's a lot different, where she was kind of like coerced by Varys and Littlefinger to talk about the dagger, and Varys was like, we already know about it, so you might as well talk. So I like that a lot more. Ooh, Littlefinger, he has skills. He took the dagger and like threw it across the room. How come we never got to see Littlefinger with his skills? Someone had told me in the comments, like the biggest tell that Littlefinger is in this Jon Aaron plot, you know, this whole plot, is that the dagger, when he had said, oh, I lost the dagger because Tyrion had bet on Jaime, someone had said in the comments, that's the biggest tell, because Tyrion would never bet against his brother. And I was like, damn, and I just read that scene, and y'all are so right. Tyrion would never bet against Jaime. So, very smart, very smart. But I mean, of course, Kat's not gonna know that. They all have this little Lannister bias, so how would she know that? Jon. Oh my gosh, you guys, Jon is at the wall and we get Gren. Gren, I missed you, King. Oh, they called him Lord Snow as like an insult. He said he would give anything to be with Arya right now. Donald Noy? Am I saying that right? Just save Jon from getting his ass beat. Ooh, interesting. Donald Noy. Noe? I don't know how to say his name, guys. He was a smith for Stannis Baratheon, and they think he was the one who forged King Robert's warhammer. That's insane. Donald is calling him out. He said, "You're a B-word and a bully." Sorry, we're out of focus. Jon's getting called out. See, this is in the show. This is when I didn't like Jon, is when he kind of arrived at the wall and he was like, "F you guys, I'm better than all of you." But in the book, it's a little more clarifying, where it's like he was really lied to. Like, he had no idea what he was getting himself into, and Uncle Benjen tried to tell him, but Jon just wasn't really listening. And now he's in this spot where he knows he's stuck for life in this, and he's surrounded by really bad men. And that's just a big part of why he can't accept it. So it makes a lot more sense now. It's still like annoying, but at the same time, like, I do get it a lot more than when I first watched the show. Jon's talking about the wall, and he said, "As if it were about to topple, and somehow Jon knew that if it fell, the world fell with it." AKA, if that wall ever falls, everyone's cooked. Jon sleeps in a place by himself? Like, he sleeps in an abandoned building? He's talking to Tyrion, and he's like, "I sleep in Harden's tower." And then Tyrion was like, "I thought that was abandoned." And Jon was like, "No one cares where you sleep." Interesting. He's really, like, distancing himself from these men big time. Uncle Benjen and his group are looking for Sir Waymar Royce, who we started the book with. Tyrion said, "Perhaps the Grumpkins are hungry this year." So Tyrion pulled rank on Sir Alliser, sorry, not using the T. He pulled rank on Sir Alliser instead of, because in the show he pulled rank on Gren and the boys, but he actually did it on Sir Alliser because Sir Alliser's bullying Jon. I like how much Tyrion, like, invests his time in Jon. There's so many more Tyrion and Jon scenes in here. Commander Mormont. Birds talk? Why is the raven saying corn to Jon? Is that their little squawk? Corn? Jon said it didn't matter that he was crippled. He was alive. Jon is so excited for Bran. That's so sweet. Oh, and this is where he makes amends with Gren and the boys. Jon's not playing. Uh-oh. Jon got so hyped that Bran was alive that he went and made amends with Gren. But then he, like, insulted Alliser. Alliser was like, "Oh, you're gonna take my place training the guys? Like, I'd have an easier time teaching the wolves to juggle." And then Jon said, "I'll take that wager. I'd love to see ghosts juggle." Then everybody laughed at Alliser, and now Alliser hates Jon. Nice. Good one, Jon. Alliser, it's not that serious. Relax. It's not that serious. Eddard. Okay, so Vayne Poole is Ned's steward, and then I'm pretty sure one of the Poole daughters is one of Sansa's friends, right? Ooh. A pair of Valyrian sphinxes flanked the door. Eyes of polished garnet. That's so cool. Oh, Ned's least favorite is Varys. Should have been Littlefinger. Ned's first comment to Littlefinger was, "I understand you knew my brother Brandon as well." Ned, chill. Here in the south, they say you are made of ice and melt when you ride below the neck. Dang, that's crazy. Ned is learning about them being in debt, the crown being in debt. and they've borrowed from the Lannisters, the Tyrells, the Iron Bank of Bravos, several Tyroshi trading cartels, and then now the Faith, the High Septon. What in the world? Also very suspicious because Littlefinger immediately was like, oh, you know, the king and the hand spend it. And Ned was like, Jon Arryn would never spend that type of money. So like, what happened to all the money? So we already see like, maybe Littlefinger's definitely had a hand in spending a bunch of money. So that way we're more reliable on Littlefinger, Lannisters, whatever. He's more powerful when they need him. Also very interesting is Ned made a comment about how he's used to being like the highest in the room basically, and the only person higher than him is King Robert, but now he's in a room where they're all equals, and it seems like he's having a hard time with that. Ooh. We had relics of the Targaryen armor, black steel with dragon scales cresting their helms. That's so cool. I want to see the Targaryen armor. Littlefinger said, I'm leading you to the dungeons to slit your throat and seal your corpse up behind a wall. Very funny, Littlefinger. Ew, Littlefinger said, or don't come and I'll keep her for myself. Talking about Cat. Yuck. Ned said, we're outside the castle. And Littlefinger said, you're a hard man to fool, Stark. Littlefinger's little comments are so good, bro. We're climbing down like a cliff face right now? What are we doing? Y'all, Book Littlefinger is so fun. I'm loving him. Ned like gets down, he's done with his little climb, and Littlefinger is lazing against a rock and eating an apple. You're growing old and slow, Stark, he said, flipping the apple casually into the water. I love him! This is gonna be so fun. He's just like, he's the perfect amount of like cocky, witty, sarcastic, but then underneath all of that is like this brilliant mind. Oh, he did bring Ned to a brothel. Littlefinger said, perhaps you could fondle a breast or two just in passing. Why do I love Book Littlefinger already? He's amazing. Ugh, can you imagine being married and every time you see your partner, they greet you with, my lady? Imagine Cam comes home from work and I'm like, oh my lord. What the hell? It just feels so impersonal. You know what I mean? Oh, he called her my love. There we go. It also goes to show like how much more observant Littlefinger and Varys are versus Ned. Like Ned has had basically like a whole page with Kat until he notices her hands are cut, and the minute we meet Littlefinger and Varys, the first thing they notice is her hands. So it just shows like just how out of realm Ned is, because like these are things that take him like a whole page to notice, a whole conversation to notice, but it's the first thing that Littlefinger and Varys notice. Very crafty. Aww, he's learning about Bran's, story and how his wolf saved him. And then it brought him back to Jon when Jon said, your children were meant to have these pups, my lord. And then he immediately thought of Sansa's and like, what has he done? Ooh, maybe Sansa like goes through the blender so much because her wolf is gone. Ooh. Like once your wolf is kind of like your protector, and once your protector is gone, like you're cooked type of thing. He said, if the gods had sent these wolves, what folly have I done? Yikes. Ned wouldn't put it past Robert to try to kill his son because of how he treats the Targaryens. That's crazy. He remembered Rhaegar's infant son, the red ruin of his skull. He could still hear Sansa pleading as Lyanna had pleaded once. Nah, y'all. The little like tie-ins between like Sansa, Lyanna, Rhaegar, like, oh, it really shows like Ned doesn't know Robert anymore. You know, like he can't trust him. He doesn't know what type of man he is anymore. Littlefinger said, my counsel is to drop that dagger in the river and forget it was ever forged. Honestly, that would have been the smart thing to do in this scenario. Bran didn't die. The assassin didn't work out. Let's move on. But we didn't. Ooh, Littlefinger said, yet I'm still here while your brother has been moldering in his frozen grave for 14 years now. Damn. Kat said, Varys has ways of learning things no man could know. He has some dark art, Ned, I swear it. Interesting. Because we know he has the little birds, but it would be interesting if he had like a touch of magic to him, where he just kind of like knows things. That's fun. Maybe he uses actual spiders, hence the name Spider. That would be cool. Oh, poor Kat. She doesn't even get to see the girls. That's so sad. Imagine having to be so obedient to your husband. Yuck. Like, he says something and you just have to do it. Like, there's no arguing. There's no talking back. Like, oh my gosh, you guys, I would get killed so quickly. Witch! Ew, Littlefinger. He said, would the lord and lady like the use of a bedchamber? See, y'all, Littlefinger would give me so many red flags if I had read it first. Like, it's probably because I already know him, but like, if I had read the books first, like his little comments of like, I've spent years convincing the court that I'm wicked and cruel. Like, those little comments are just so red flag, red flag. Ooh, Ned is preparing for war. He said, send out letters to like Moat Cailin, Lord Manderley, and then also keep a careful watch on Theon, because if there is a war, we might need his father's fleet. Interesting. Poor Ned. See, the thing is if King Robert was still the man that he used to know, I think this would have turned out very differently. But we finished this chapter with with Ned saying, and pray that he is the man I think he is and not the man that I fear he has become. Yikes. It's like a part of Ned already knows that the Robert he used to know is gone. Like, he's now kind of just like this pushover guy who just is trying to get through life, basically. But it's like at that point, like, you shouldn't even be going to him with this because you know, like, he's not going to do anything. Littlefinger made a little comment of like, he's gotten really good at turning a blind eye to things. And so, like, I feel like that's enough for Ned to know, like, the king is no longer a reliable source. Like, he's no longer your friend. But he's preparing for war because the Lannisters wouldn't attack unless they had a full force behind them. But we all know that that doesn't do much. But that also leads me questioning if, like, a big reason why Robb was doing so well when he, you know, picks up the sword or whatever is because Ned had kind of put the pieces in place to begin with, which is very smart of Ned. But that's very fascinating. We're on to Tyrion. Okay, so Gior, Lord Commander Mormont, he has a crow, like, that's his, and it talks. Because that's the same crow that was, like, yelling corn at Jon. And now it's screaming duel. Interesting. So we just learned about Sir Alliser and how Sir Alliser was on the wrong side of the war with the Lannisters and, you know, King's Landing and all that. But then right after that, Maester Aemon makes a comment of, I think Lord Tyrion is quite a large man. I think he is a giant to come among us here at the end of the world. And I know Maester Aemon doesn't mean he's like an actual giant, but I think he means like Tyrion is different. I like that. Maester Aemon made a comment that he's never been called kind before. Because Maester Aemon in the show was very kind. So Commander Mormont just said that Benjen Stark is now officially missing. Yikes. He has nobody to send out after him. Oh, interesting. Commander Mormont said, Once the watch spent its summers building, and each Lord Commander raised the wall higher than he had found it. So, like, the wall is like a continuous build. Like, they just keep adding to it. That's so cool. Tyrion said that his wet nurse told him that a great summer would happen eventually, where it would just be summer forever. So I'm wondering if that would happen if they, like, defeated the White Walkers or the others. The fisherfolk of Eastwatch have glimpsed White Walkers on the shore. So others are like the big White Walkers, and maybe the Whites are White Walkers? And then Tyrion said the fisherfolk of Lannisport often glimpse merlings. So they're mermaids? That's sick. I know we're like, Tyrion's kind of like making fun of him right now and being like, oh yeah, and they see mermaids, but like at the end of the day, if they're seeing them, they're there. It's very interesting. There's like maybe like a god or a figure or something that is bringing Tyrion and Jon together a lot. Like Tyrion had just randomly like got this gut feeling to go up on the wall, and then randomly gets this gut feeling to like go west while he's walking on the wall, and it leads him like right to Jon. So it feels like there's like these forces like pulling those two together. Jon said, if Uncle Benjen doesn't come back, I will go and find him with Ghost. I mean, honestly, I would have loved a little side quest of Jon looking for Benjen and maybe finding him. That would have been cool. That was a good chapter. Tyrion and Jon are officially friends, which is really sweet. And that was like really touching to Tyrion because he's not used to like people wanting to be his friend. And it's so strange to me that it feels like there's like this force pulling them together. But I really like their little dynamic, and I definitely think like later in the story, that dynamic is definitely going to play a big role because of how they started. So that'll be really interesting if he ever finishes the books. Guys, there's a Trevor. Trevi, come lay in your bed. Arya! Ooh, Sansa's little friend came to court with her. That's so sweet. Ned has this like, we're out of focus, sorry. Ned has this like tradition where he always has one new person sit at their table for dinner, so he gets to know them better. It kind of shows like Rob when he was like super personal with his army like later in the show. He definitely learned that from Ned. It kind of makes me sad for Arya. Sansa and her little friend are like little bullies to her. Like, of course, like sisters always fight, you know, that's just sisters. But like, it's a little different when you have your friend joining in and like picking on you as well. Like, that's effed up. Aw, Arya wanted to run away. She hated King's Landing that much that she wanted to run away. Poor thing. Ned said, my 9-year-old daughter is being armed from my own forge and I know nothing of it. The wildness in the Stark blood is called the wolf blood. Dany calls it like the blood of the dragon. Arya has the wolf blood. And Lyanna had a touch of it too. Ned said it brought them both to an early grave. Yikes. You guys, I was told that these little comments are just like to throw you off, like the author's just trying to throw you off, but there's so many comments about how similar she is to Lyanna, and Ned just said she looks like Lyanna. And then on top of that, we have so many comments about Jon and Arya looking so similar. And it's just like, it would have been so cool if Arya was like somehow a part of this mix. I don't know. I know she's not, but it would have been cool. Poor Arya. She's talking about how she had to throw rocks at Nymeria to get her to go away. Arya said that she hit her twice and then Nymeria whined and looked at her. Oh, that's so sad. Ooh, this is Ned's quote. He said, when the snow falls and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. Ned said if he took Needle, no doubt he would find a morning star hidden under her pillow. Ooh, Arya's left-handed. Guys, Syrio is here. Also interesting, like, little foil that I've obviously never noticed because it was my first time watching, but when he says you're a sword, that is all, it like makes me think of like when she's death and she's no one. It's kind of like from the beginning of the story, Arya's really been like no one. Like she's always been taught like you're a sword or you're a boy or you're no one. So it's really interesting, like Arya's identity has always been like not Arya. That's so fun! I love that Ned set up dancing lessons for Arya. It's so perfect for her. We're on to Dany. Oh, that's so interesting. The Dothraki Sea is like all of those open plains that they have. So that's their like sea. Trevor! Trevor's crying. Dude, you guys, Trevor literally eats my books. I don't know what it's about, but if a book falls off the library, he will chew it. It's insane. Look, he's trying to eat it. Oh, that's cool. There's grasses that have different colors. There's lemon. Yellow is lemon, sorry. Blue grasses, orange grasses. We hear a lot about Ashai when we're with Dany. I want to like learn more about Ashai. Ghost grass. That's so cool. So Viserys was supposed to like stay at the palace with Illyrio, and then he decided to go with them. And now he's all miserable and upset. Dany felt at peace. Dany said, not a queen, a Khaleesi. Interesting. Oh my gosh, poor Dany. She said she would kill herself rather than go on, she decided one night. But then that night she had a dream. So Dany is one of the Targaryen dreamers. Because we're learning that in House of the Dragon right now, that some Targaryens are dreamers and some are not. And Dany is one of them. She had a dream that the dragon, like, cooked her. And she liked it. She felt strong and new and fierce. And then the next morning, she, like, felt better. Like, healed. And she's recognizing that the black and scarlet dragon egg is the same dragon that was in her dream. Is that Drogon? I always get Drogo and Drogon mixed up. I'm sorry. It's so fun to be in Dany's head because we always had these like shots of her like looking at the dragon eggs or like kind of just like having like weird looks with the dragon eggs, and I always was like, what is that about? Like, what is she thinking of? And now I know. She's thinking of that dream she had. Dany said she never loved anything so much about her horse. That's so cute. What? They're in Korhor right now? I love the name Korhor. It always reminds me of Jorah. And there's like elk and tigers and lemurs with silver fur and purple eyes. That's so cool. That's so sad that like Drogo only sees her at night. Poor Dany. So the entire reason she stopped the Dothraki that day is so she could like enjoy the nature around her. That's so cute. And then Viserys is here. Effing Viserys. Ew, why is he grabbing her boob? Weirdo. She's starting to like fear Viserys less and less each day. It's crazy. Ooh, Dany made the call that he walks. We just humbled Viserys, but Jorah is like making weird comments where he was like, if your brother is the shadow of a snake, what does that make his servants? So he views himself as like really low. And we know he's potentially spying on her right now, so. They both pray for home. But Dany is thinking of King's Landing and the Red Keep. That's interesting because earlier when we had been talking about home with her, she was talking about, you know, the little red door with the lemon trees. And now when she thinks of home, she thinks of the Red Keep and Dragonstone and whatever. I think this is where Dany's mindset starts to change of like, maybe I could take the throne. Because this is the first time she's thought of King's Landing as home, and it's also the first time she's like fully recognized like Viserys is not who he thinks he is, you know? And then she just said, I am no child. She's getting there. Dany's cooking. Dany saw a finger of dusty red light reach out to touch her dragon eggs across the tent. Interesting, she's having visions like while awake. And also the black egg, Drogon's egg, is like warm to the touch. She's like convincing herself. She's like, oh, it's because I'm dreaming. Oh, it's because of the sun. So weird. She knows something's up. That's crazy. That's so cool. I wish we could like be in her head in the show for this, because I never knew any of this in the show. Like I didn't know what she was like thinking when looking at the dragon eggs and stuff. The first dragons had come from the east, from the Shadowlands beyond Ashai. Perhaps some were still living there. There are still dragons in the Shadowlands. In Ashai. Because also Bran made a comment of like dragons stirring in Ashai. And at first when Bran had made that comment, I was like, oh, maybe he's talking about Dany's dragon eggs because Dany's dragon eggs were from Ashai. But that the timelines don't match up. You know what I mean? So like when Bran was having that vision of like him being three-eyed raven floating over the world, right? Dany had already gotten her eggs. So they would be stirring in the Dothraki area. They wouldn't be stirring in Ashai. So he's talking about different dragons. So there's still dragons in Ashai. Give me one. The last dragon was called Dragonbane. Oh wait, never mind. Guys, what? I want to go to the east. Ashai has like blood mages, shadowbinders, manticores. That's insane. So Ashai and like over there, they're very like magic heavy. And then Dany made a comment that all magic left Westeros after the doom fell on Valyria. And then there hasn't been any magic since. Until Dany. And until Bran. So like now. One day the other moon will kiss the sun too, and then it will crack and the dragons will return. What if instead of Dany's story ending the way we've had it end in the show, what if it goes further than that? You know, like then Dany brings back the whole like realm of dragons again. You know, like the dragons from Ashai come over, and like then there's more dragons than just 3. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think like it's a cycle where we had, you know, dragons and then the doom, and then we lost our dragons, and then Dany's back with dragons, and then there's gonna be dragons again. Dany asked Arya to stay for dinner, and she said it was no honor, only service. It's crazy that Dany like is very clear on like the boundaries of like if she's using somebody or not, or if she's like, I don't know, she's very clear on the boundaries of like things don't come for free, and the difference between like friendship and duty/honor. It's very fascinating. Not Khal Drogo calling out her name. Jackie said, Khaleesi, you are with child. I know, Dany told her. It was her 14th name day. Did she have a dream about it? Very interesting. We get so much more context on Dany. It's so fun. She's so curious, but on top of that, like she's really kind of coming into her power. Like her mindset has shifted so much from where we started with her. And we're only like this far in, right? But like her mindset has changed so much, where she was like so submissive and so quiet, and now like she's really kind of like honing in on that power. And then she's having like more and more dreams as we go by. On to Bran! Ooh, Rickon's wolf is all black with green eyes. And Bran's wolf is silver. Poor Bran. He wants to go run with his brother. His 8th name day had come and gone. He was almost a man grown now. You're 8 years old, Bran! Oh, dude, I wish old Nan had told us the story about a crow. She said, I know a story about a crow. And Bran said, I don't want any more stories. No, I want the stories, old Nan. Bran said, I hate your stupid stories. That's also another fun tie-in, is like Bran has always been surrounded by stories. Even when he was little, like old Nan always told him stories. And now he like basically is the storyteller. Aw, poor old Nan. She lost both of her sons in King Robert's War, and then her grandson at the Pike War, the Pike Rebellion. Okay, so is she a grandmother to Hodor? Bran said all that was left of her own blood was Hodor. So she is related to Hodor somehow, which I thought she was. See, y'all? Or perhaps Bran had died and they had forgotten him. I think Bran died. That's an interesting comment. Old Nan gets all the Brandons confused, and Kat made a comment of like, she's lived so long that all the Brandon Starks become one person in her head. We know Brandon the Builder might have had... No, he didn't have magic, did he? Because he used the Children of the Forest to make the wall. It's interesting, though. I'm wondering if there's any, like, tie-ins between all three of the Brandons. It still leaves me questioning, because Old Nan is telling the story of, you know, the first time the others came, but she made the comment of, like, in that darkness, the others came for the first time. So have they been here before? Because I'm still kind of confused on if the others, like, come back every winter, which I know our winters are, you know, irregular, so like every 9 years, 4 years, however, or is it just like every once in a blue moon? Curious. Every time there's magic, perhaps. Interesting. See, this feeds into my theory. Old Nan is talking about this like one guy who sought out the Children of the Forest for help with the White Walkers. See, this feeds into my theory of like just killing the Night King is not simple enough or not difficult enough, because in the past when they were here, we had one guy who set out to go find the Children of the Forest to get their help, and they needed magic to get rid of them. So it's a lot more complicated. But where are the spiders? Big as hounds. We didn't get to see those with the White Walkers. Tyrion's here. Hodor's real name is Walder. Interesting. I thought it was different in the show. Like Willis or something, right? Interesting. They have like a little throne seat. I never noticed that. Did we have that in the show? I don't think we did. Tyrion has 2 different colored eyes. That's cool. Sweet Tyrion. He's giving them the plans for the saddle. He said you'll be as tall as any of them. Poor Tyrion. The wolves don't like Tyrion. I wonder why. I mean, Ghost warmed up to him, but even Ghost didn't like him that much. That's so weird. Why don't the wolves like Tyrion? There's something to that. Bran is so happy about his saddle. It's so cute. Bran's dreaming, and the gargoyles have eyes glowing red as hot as coals. Then he said perhaps once they had been lions, but now they were twisted and grotesque, like the Lannisters. Oh, poor Bran. I didn't hear, he kept saying. It's like his dream is trying to tell him, like, it was the Lannisters, you heard something. Yeah, Uncle Benjen is definitely still alive. Especially when you have, like, Robb being like, he's not dead. He's not dead. And then I think it was Yoren made a comment that he knows the Haunted Forest better than anybody. Benjen Stark does. Maybe he does go and find the Children of the Forest. Even Bran said the children will help him, the Children of the Forest. Yeah, so Uncle Benjen definitely gets tied in with the Children of the Forest, for sure. Oh, that's so sad. Robb is talking to Bran right now, and he said, afterward, we'll ride north to see the wall. We won't even tell Jon we're coming. We'll just be there one day. It'll be an adventure. And then he heard his brother sob. That's so sad. Oh, poor Bran. Poor Stark family. You know what is interesting, though, is I'm finding like a little foil or a little tie-in between Bran and Dany, where I feel like those two are like our two magical beings right now. Like we have, you know, just like a regular story, and then we're adding like a touch of magic slowly into the story, and that's being added in through Bran and through Dany. And they're so far away from each other, but they're so similar right now, where they're both very young, they're both in very like unhappy positions, but at the same time they're both having these dreams, and they're both having these like weird elements happening, and like we're also having like back-to-back chapters with them. Like we just had a Dany chapter and we just had a Bran chapter, so there's definitely like two elements of magic starting to come in, and it's coming in through these two, and it's really cool to see. I love it. Edard. That's interesting. We're talking to Grand Maester Pycelle right now, and he was talking about like this really long summer that was super hot, and everybody thought it was like the Great Summer, which is so fascinating because maybe they talked about it in the show, but the Great Summer was never something I caught on to. So that's something that we like look forward to. Like no more winter, hopefully a great summer, a summer forever. It also makes me question if the Children of the Forest did make the others, if like that whole, you know, stories in the books and everything, did they also make the winter with it? So if we get rid of the others, does it truly get rid of winter since they have like such unnatural seasons? He said the seed is strong. Yikes. There's another Aegon. Pycelle's been in the court for a hot minute. King Robert, Aerys, Jaehaerys, and then a little bit of Jaehaerys' father, Aegon the Fortunate, fifth of his name. So many Aegons. So fifth of his name, is that like the order of the Aegons? Because we just watched House of the Dragon today and they said Aegon's second of his name. So is House of the Dragon Aegon the second Aegon there was? Yeah? I don't know. Ooh, Lady Lysa had a stillbirth, and ever since then she's been kind of loony. That makes a lot more sense to me. Maybe they said that in the show, maybe I just missed it. Because I always wondered why she was kind of a little out of it. And then after Jon Arryn, it was all downhill from there, according to Pycelle. Arya's doing her little balancing thing now. So, King's Landing still has a Godswood, because I know in House of the Dragon they have one, but we've never seen it in the Game of Thrones show. Trevor. That's interesting. So Littlefinger is the one who tipped off Ned about Lord Arryn's squire. Littlefinger made a comment about the king telling the queen too much. Yikes, Littlefinger said, distrusting me was the wisest thing you've done since you climbed down off your horse. Trevor, you're making the camera freak out. Guys. Trevor is the star of the show. Look at him. So cute. We love watching Littlefinger work. Okay, so Ned is in the mindset that we are super out of focus because Trevor's here. I'm sorry. Ned is trying to figure out the truth of Jon Arryn, and Littlefinger is helping. Interesting. Trevor, can you get down? You're really messing up the camera, buddy. Can you come here? You want to look at the camera? Say hi. Trevi, the sooner we finish the book vlogs, the sooner I can open the windows. And you can see all the leaves outside. He knocked off the little mic thingy. Jon! Oh, a new recruit has entered the practice yard. Is it Sam?
This week, a hot new bombshell enters the villa.
Aw, Sam brought his own armor, but because it wasn't black, he couldn't use it. That's so sad. Alistair's such a bully. All he does is call him Lord Ham and Sir Piggy. Jon stepping up for Sam. W. Jon. Ew, Rast. Ugh. Kind of forgot about him. Oh, Pip stepped up to help Jon. Alliser is sending 3 men against Jon right now. And Gren. W. Pip and Gren. Pip and Gren are learning. Jon has taught them. Sam said, I've been bruised before. That makes me question if Randall was like abusive to Sam. I'm sure he was. What sort of man would proclaim himself a coward? Somebody who's not actually a coward. I feel like most guys who are like, I'm a coward, they're not. They just understand that they're different, you know? I don't know, we'll see how Sam is written. Poor Sam, he's so insecure. Pip said, if a bear attacked you in the woods, you'd be too stupid to run away. So that's my thing with Sam is like, can we really call it cowardice when he's not getting up and fighting because he knows he's not going to win that fight? You know, like, is that being a coward or is that just kind of knowing the outcome and just accepting it? Jon is thinking of Sam and Tyrion. And it brought him back to Tyrion's comment about most men would rather deny a hard truth than face it. And we see like Sam is not like that. W. Jon. He said it took a sort of courage to admit to cowardice as Samwell Tarly had. Sweet. Yeah, I think Sam earned some points for that. Pip does little voices. That's fun. That's so crazy. Sam grew up like towards the south, right? So this is his first time seeing snow. So imagine how cold and awful it would be for Sam. Like, not only is he like ostracized from his family and his house, but at the same time he's in this like foreign place where it's like uncomfortable and scary. I don't blame him. Like for Jon, this is home, you know? He grew up around here. Oh, Ghost likes Sam. He's licking his tears away. That's so cute. Sometimes Jon dreams about Winterfell and him like walking down the halls and stuff. Ooh, so Qhorin Halfhand is out beyond the wall looking for Benjen. It's interesting though, in the stony highlands of the north, the marks stopped abruptly and all traces of Benjen Stark vanished. Interesting. Uncle Benjen, what are you doing? Ooh, so in Jon's dream of Winterfell, it's completely like barren. And then he like always winds up at the crypts. Does that mean the whole Stark family is gonna die but Jon? Or maybe he's getting led down there because of Lyanna, but a part of me feels like that means like that's a foreshadow to the whole Stark family dying other than Jon, because the house is like abandoned. Heartsbane! I know what that is! Sam's passions were books, kittens, and dancing. Same, King! Except for the dancing. I'm a terrible dancer. Wow, we're talking about how Randall Tarly has done like everything under the sun to try to like toughen up Sam, make him like a knight, a man, whatever, make him whatever version he wants him to be. And Sam says, 2 men came to the castle, warlocks from Karth, with white skin and blue lips. That's crazy. And then after Sam's brother was born, Sam was like kicked to the side. That's so sad. Poor Sam. The Night's Watcher die. That's terrible. Daeron's a singer. Ooh. So Daeron wound up at the wall because of something shisty. That sucks. Jon got everybody on his side with Sam. Cute. And then Jon threatened him with Ghost. I love it. Oh, sweet Sam. He said, I've never had a friend before. Jon said, we're not friends, we're brothers. Jon's getting it. Jon's finally understanding like why the wall is so important and how he fits in there. It's really sweet though. It's sweet to see Jon go from like, we're also seeing his character really start to step up again, where he's really kind of like down bad and in on himself and separating himself from people, and now he's really kind of like branching out, making his own little family, adding people to those families. It's very cute. Okay, y'all, shall we read our book? I've also started tabbing my pages. I'm gonna redo these because they're kind of a hot mess, but the tabs are so I can keep track of like whose chapter is what, how many chapters in we are. So if you're wondering, that's what these are for. But we're on to Eddard. Let's do it. Ew, Janos Slint. It's very interesting. We're talking about the king's tourney, or you know, the tourney for the hand, and Janos Slint is like, oh, the city is a mess right now. Like, we have basically like all these thieves and really horrible men kind of out to play because there's so many people out. And it reminds me of House of the Dragon, when we were like preparing for that tourney and Daemon just like killed all of the bad men. And he was like, I got rid of the problem for you. Honestly, should have done something like that, Janos. Was it brutal? Yes. Did it work? Yes. I still believe Ned shouldn't have given him 20 men from his household guard, though. We need those men, Ned. Renly's talking about Stannis. Voice crack, sorry. Renly's talking about Stannis, and Stannis wanted to, like, outlaw brothels. And so Renly's like all ranting and raving about that right now, which is ridiculous. And then he makes a comment of like, I oftentimes wonder how Stannis ever got that ugly daughter of his. I know you're not talking about Shireen like that. Renly, he goes to his marriage bed like a man marching to a battlefield. Interesting. So Stannis is staying at Dragonstone, and Ned's like, wonder when he's gonna come join us. And Littlefinger made a comment about all the hoes in the sea. Throwing them all in the sea. I can't say the W word. YouTube gets mad at me. That makes me wonder when we're gonna get Stannis chapters, and also like, it's very clear at this point in the story that Stannis is purposefully like staying away from, you know, like King's Landing and the council and everything. And I just really want like more into Stannis's head as to like why, what are your exact reasons? Is it because it's too crafty and schemy? Like, are you like upset because of, you know, the whole Dragonstone Storm End thing? I want Stannis. Give me Stannis. It's also interesting, Ned is he's kind of getting a little more used to his role in King's Landing, where he's like, I'm not happy about this, let's do this. Like, he's kind of not dealing with the BS anymore, versus like when he had first arrived to court, like he was really like kind of careful about not stepping on toes, or very careful about how he said things, and now he just doesn't really seem to care anymore. Oh, Ned got the book. The Jon Arryn book. We're talking about Lan the Clever. He said that he winkled the Casterlys out of Casterly Rock with no weapon but his wits. And that makes me think of Tyrion. I also said he stole gold from the sun to brighten his curly hair. That's interesting. I also think it's interesting that Ned gets this book from Jon Arryn, and all he's looking at is like the Lannister house. Like, he just like keeps looking at the Lannister house. Gotta look at the Baratheon house, Ned. Interesting, we're talking about rumors that Ned has heard from other people about Jon Arryn, and one of those rumors is that the Lord was sending his boy to be fostered on Dragonstone. That would have been kind of cool to send Robert Arryn, which I'm learning his name is Robert Arryn, to Dragonstone to Stannis. That would have been cool. And then Stannis went with Jon Arryn to choose designs for a breastplate. When was the last time Stannis was here? Yeah, there's a lot of mentions with Jon Arryn and Stannis, and me and Ned both find that very interesting. So Stannis and Lord Arryn went to the brothel, and Ned was like, Stannis wouldn't go to a brothel, and I think that's where they found Robert's illegitimate child. the one at the beginning of the show. I think that's what they were doing there. But then that leads me to more questions of like, okay, so Stannis was involved in this. Like Stannis knew with Jon Arryn, and maybe that's why he's hiding in Dragonstone right now, is him and Jon Arryn kind of figured this out together. Interesting. So I'm learning Stannis is just newly like hiding in Dragonstone. So he was here with Jon Arryn. He figured out the truth with Jon Arryn. Jon Arryn got killed, and then Stannis said, I'm out of here. They're gonna kill me too. I see. That's what I think happened. Marjorie is already getting mentioned. Renly, what the hell is going on with Book Renly? It's so funny. We definitely get more of Renly, where like I feel like season 1 and 2 of Renly, we didn't get a lot of him. Like he was always just kind of like the brother that was there. But now we definitely get a lot more of him, where he's definitely a lot more involved in the court. Like he's a lot more charming and a lot more present. He definitely is looking at that throne. But then he has this like random locket of Marjorie, and he goes to Ned and he's like, does this remind you of Lyanna? And Ned thought that was weird because he thinks like Renly's trying to be like his brother, basically. Honestly, as chaotic as King's Landing seems, it would be kind of cool to live in a place like this, where it's like there's just so much going on in the streets all the time. Like, yes, there's crime and really bad things, but there's also like little markets and cool stuff. I probably would hate it, honestly. What do you mean make way for Lord Beric? Beric Dondarrion? He has red and gold hair and a satin cloak dusted with stars. That's sick. Tobho Mott. Interesting. So Tobho Mott is the one who owns the shop. And pretty much like all the guys go to him. Like Renly's new armor is from him. So that's cool. Oh, he knows how to work Valyrian steel? That's cool. It said he learned to work Valyrian steel at the Forges of Qohor as a boy. Only a man who knew the spells could take old weapons and forge them anew. It takes like magic work to work with Valyrian steel? Let's go see Gendry. Gendry. And his bull's head helmet. So Stannis did go with him because Gendry was like, the bald one? No, not him. He just glared at me. Aw, the other people call Gendry bullheaded, and that's why he made that helmet. Sweet Gendry. Ned said the day you take on an apprentice without a fee will be the day the wall comes down. Interesting. So Ned like not immediately, but he figured it out pretty quick that Gendry was the king's son. But I'm wondering who paid his fee. Was it the king himself? He was stout, round of shoulder, not so tall as you, brown beard, but there was a bit of red in it. He wore a rich cloak, heavy purple velvet, with silver threads. Is that the king? Is that Robert? Jon Arryn himself? That's gotta be Jon Arryn. Or the king. I don't know, y'all. Tell me the answer. Okay, we're on to Cat. That was a really good chapter, though, y'all. I really like being with Ned in King's Landing because it's really fun seeing like his mindset change, his perspective shift, and also at the same time seeing him like figure things out. He's slowly getting there with the Jon Arryn plot. Okay, y'all, we're on to Catelyn. It's raining right now and Kat is thinking of her childhood and like how they had served mud pies to Littlefinger and he like actually ate them. And it's crazy to me like how close her and Littlefinger were. You know, like you never really like you knew he was a ward with the Tully family or something along those lines, but like at the same time you never really like clicks how much time they spent together and how they basically like grew up together. Like that's crazy to me. We just get so much more context on it in the book. Seaguard. We're passing the Seaguard men. Mallisters. I feel like the Mallister house is a lot bigger than what they were in the show because even in House of the Dragon the Mallisters are mentioned. Interesting, he didn't recognize her. And that's why they go to the inn because she's like, we're unrecognizable, no biggie. Catelyn is noticing the difference between being treated like a higher up lady versus somebody who's just like a casual person. She said there was no mention of sweet cakes. She thought about going home for a little bit, but because her dad is sick, she decided not to. That sucks. I would rather her go home for a little bit and talk to her dad versus her capture Tyrion coming up. Hi, Trevi. You want attention? Lady Went lives in Harrenhal. She said that she dealt with the ghosts in the cavernous vaults of Harrenhal. That's crazy. I want to learn more about Harrenhal. It's so cool. Interesting. So basically like almost, I wouldn't say half, but a big part of the like sworn houses to the Tullys, a big part of them were on Rhaegar's side. Oh, there's two of them up here now. Hi, Eden. What are you guys doing? So she's kind of questioning if any banners would even come if the Tullys called for them in war. That's fascinating. And Lord Frey is part of that mix. What are you doing? She never comes up here. Her and Trevor are best friends, so. Hey, don't drink my coffee, Miss Ma'am. You're learning bad things from Celeste. Who is Aaliyah of Bravos? That's the best singer Sir Roderick has ever heard. The singer is talking about how he's like besties with the Tully family. That's hilarious. Catelyn said another singer had once bedded a girl her brother fancied. He hated that breed ever since. Poor Lord Edmure. A free rider in a faded blue cloak lurched forward. You're welcome to my room, my lord. Is that Bran? Tyrion just called her out. Yikes. Catelyn, no. See, the thing is Catelyn could have very easily been like, hey, it's me, and then went back to her food. But she chose this moment. She's kind of like, she like panicked, basically. And she was like, well, they all know I'm me now, so might as well panic. And then she calls out all the bannermen. But it's just like one of those things where it's like, Catelyn, you could have very easily held your tongue and just finished your dinner. Like, it would have been so easy. Cat. Ay. And it's like the craziest thing too is like I can't blame her for like being so like, oh my gosh, we gotta get Tyrion, like F this dude, he tried to kill my son, whatever. But you have no proof, you know? Like it's one thing when like you have a ton of proof and like it's obviously pointing to Tyrion, whatever. But the only thing that is potentially pointing to Tyrion is this dagger. And like Tyrion is just being nice to you. So it's just this big bias against the Lannisters and her just like acting out of plans. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Kat, you just opened a whole can of worms that you're not even ready for. On to Sansa. Sansa's in her element. She's on her way to the tourney. She's in a little litter with her bestie Jane Poole. She's living life right now. The armor seems so cool. Like, it's just like the way they describe it in the books is so fun. Like, obviously it's really fun in the show as well. Like the costuming was done really well, but in the books it just adds like a different element to it. I love it. Sansa remembered Lord Yowen Royce, who had guessed at Winterfell 2 years before. His armor is bronze, thousands and thousands of years old, engraved with magic runes that ward against harm. So there is magic runes, and I was assuming there was like magic runes because I'm assuming there's some in the wall. I'm assuming there's some in the spooky tree den. So I'm wondering if like the runes that we see with the White Walkers in the show are like also runes, but like evil runes potentially. I want more on the runes. There's always runes in the fantasy world, and I love it. Thoros of Myr is here. Sansa's laughing at him. He has a shaven head. Interesting. Sir Robar also has runes in his armor. This is an interesting character. Jane Poole is like scared of him. Jalabar Zoe? An exile prince from the Summer Isles who wore a cape of green. What's that about? Beric Dondarrion, hey king. Wow, there's a lot of people here. They said Jory looks like a beggar. Ned had just talked about this, how he like isn't all for like the fancy armor and the fancy looks. Like it's just armor. As long as it protects you, who cares? Already we have like Jane, who is very kind of like not into any type of violence, or Sansa described her as like a frightened little girl, and Sansa said she was made of sterner stuff. So we already see like Sansa is a little tough when it comes to this type of stuff. That's good, because I feel like for a lot of like ladies like Sansa, they really don't like any type of violence or any type of fighting. So the fact that Sansa can look at it without having an issue is a good thing. The Vale Knight just died. I forgot his name. It's slipping past me right now. But I also think that's kind of interesting that in the show, Sansa, when that happens, she like screams and makes a big show of it, but that was actually Jane Poole. Jane Poole is like crying hysterically, and Sansa's just like sitting there with her hands folded. She's very like elegant, sophisticated. And she's watching with a strange fascination. She'd never seen a man die before. That's crazy. So she's kind of like cold to death. Like it doesn't bother her like it would bother other little girls. I kind of like this. I like being in Sansa's head for this, because I mean in the show she's always portrayed as like this like little girl who freaks out at death, but she's really just like, he's dead. And she said, that was sad. Like, damn, Sansa. Maybe it's because of like where she grew up. I mean, she grew up in Winterfell with Ned and, you know, the boys. Like, they're not very, I don't know, like death is just kind of like another part of life. So I feel like she probably sees it that way as well. Or she just might be a touch unemotional in that area, which is cool, because knowing where her story goes, that's going to be useful. Loras Tyrell is here. Hey, King. Sansa made a comment about how Sir Robar, hopefully I'm saying that right, his runes were like not really very helpful because his protection got split in the middle by Sir Loras. But I don't think the runes are for jousting. I think they're for like magical creatures like the others. Sansa said her eyes were only for Sir Loras. The other maidens he had given white roses to, but the one he plucked for her was red. I feel like there's multiple messages in that. One, the obvious one is Lyanna, because I think, if I remember correctly, from what we were told in the show, Lyanna was given a white rose, right? So for Sansa to get a red one is very interesting, and I also feel like red, with one, knowing where her story goes and knowing how she views death, that kind of like marks her with a touch of like blood in a way. Like she's different from the other girls when it comes to blood and like being pure in that area. I don't know. Does that make sense? Sometimes I have these thoughts in my head that I don't know how to portray to you guys. Oh, is this Littlefinger? He said, you must be one of her daughters. You have the Tully look. Ew. Your mother was my queen of beauty once. You have her hair. And then he touched her cheek as he stroked one of her auburn locks. Ugh. And then he just walks away. Littlefinger, you're such a creep. Ugh. She hasn't talked to Joffrey since the whole lady mess. And he's just sat down next to her. And she like was mad at him at first, but now she's like forgiven him for the lady nonsense, and she just blames Cersei, and she's like, it's not Joffrey's fault. Sansa, please. And Arya, she blames Arya too. He was too beautiful to hate. Yuck. She needed no wine. She was drunk on the magic of the night. This does sound fun though, this little feast. Sansa's getting more and more observant, I think. Because we had Sansa who's just very, like, kind of oblivious to life, just kind of, like, having fun, just wanting to be with Joffrey. But then we have this, the King's Fool, who is making a mockery of everyone with such deft cruelty that Sansa wondered if he was simple after all. Good observation, Sansa. You're gonna need a sharp mind in this court, Queen. I mean, to give Sansa some points, this entire feast, Joffrey is being like so nice and joking with her and laughing with her, and they're here for like hours. So it's like when we have, you know, Sansa and Joffrey in the show, they only have like a little bit of time together, and it always seems like her like fascination with Joffrey is just kind of like ridiculous. But when we have these moments with Sansa and Joffrey where it's like he spends a lot of time kind of like swooning her and manipulating her and whatever, it makes a lot more sense. You know, like she's a little girl. This is, you know, a handsome guy who's a prince, who's going to be a king, and he's spending all this time giving her like attention and whatever. Like, of course she's going to fall for that. Of course she's going to be whipped. So I have to give her a few points there because it's not really her fault. Like, look at him. Joffrey showed her how to get the snail out of the shell and fed her the first sweet morsel himself. He is playing. Ooh, they're fighting. King Robert and Cersei. Oh, they're fighting because he wants to fight in the tournament. LOL. See, King Robert, I feel like he's insecure now, you know, like he doesn't fight anymore and he's bigger and like he's gained weight. He just like wants to prove himself, but he's not that man anymore. That's interesting. King Robert is like kind of losing it right now because he's super drunk and he wants to fight in the tournament and he got in a fight with Cersei. And then we have like Jaime Lannister who's kind of just being like, okay, whatever you say, okay, whatever you say. And then Lord Renly comes up and he's like, Robert, you spilled your wine, let's get you some more. And then Joffrey is like, it grows late, you should leave. Robert like abusive when he drinks too much? Sansa made a comment of like, he had a look on his face as if he were not seeing her at all. Weird. Y'all, if I had just read this book from just Sansa's perspective, I would be fooled, okay? I'm not even gonna lie, I would be fooled. Because the way that Sansa makes Joffrey seem, he actually seems like a great person. Like, he seems like a prince who has a temper and is obviously childish, but at the same time, like, still cares for her. But I know that's just Sansa's bias, but it's, like, very strong. It's crazy. The Hound said, I've drunk too much and I may need to kill my brother tomorrow. That's why he calls her little bird. He said, you're like one of those birds from the Summer Isles, aren't you? A pretty little talking bird repeating all the pretty little words they taught you to recite. Damn. He doesn't like all the fake BS of the court. Now he's mocking her. We love the Hound. The Hound is letting it slip that Sir Gregor killed Jon Arryn's squire, like on purpose, because he saw that his armor wasn't done properly. The Hound just told Sansa the story of his face, which I really like this version because she had originally heard it from Littlefinger, but I like that we're hearing it from the Hound. And she said she was sad for him, she realized. Somehow the fear had gone away. And then she touched his shoulder and said he was no true knight. How cute! The Hound brought her all the way to her bedroom to make sure she was safe, and then he said, if you tell anyone, I'll kill you. That's so funny. The Hound is definitely one of those people that, like, does not open up ever, and I think he was just trying to, like, scare Sansa, but unfortunately it did, like, the opposite to Sansa, where it made her, like, care for him and actually, like, see him as a person, whatever. And so now he's like regretting it. That's so funny. That was a really good chapter though. We got the whole like feast after the joust, which wasn't in the show at all. And it was really fun, but it's crazy to me how biased Sansa's perspective is, because it's so easy to buy. Like it's like I said, if I got this whole book in Sansa's perspective, I would view Joffrey so differently, because the way she makes him seem, he seems like a great guy, but he's not. So it's insane to me. We're on to Eddard. So the Silent Sisters prepare men for the grave, which I figured, but Ned said it was ill fortune to look on the face of death. Interesting. So if you look at somebody who's dead without like the Silent Sisters preparing them, it's like a bad omen. Yikes. No way, we have Lancel! Interesting. So the king has 2 Lannister squires, not just Lancel. There's another one. Ned doesn't like that he's surrounded by Lannisters. Ned's Lannister bias is crazy. Robert said Cersei tried to ban him from fighting in the tournament, and he was like, Lyanna would never say that to me. And Ned was like, actually she would. It's crazy. It's like Lyanna's like this obsession of his that he doesn't even fully understand. Yikes. So Robert is like an angry drunk. Like he's like throwing breastplate armor at Barristan Selmy. Like he's not a very nice guy when he's drunk. Also, the fact that Jon Arryn, his name is spelled the same way as Jon Snow, it's just so confusing. And I also feel like it's a big setup for like Jon's future, because there's so many lines like, you were the one who should have been king, you or Jon. And he doesn't say Jon Arryn, he just says Jon. I feel like this perfectly sums up Robert. He said, I was so alive when I was winning this throne and so dead now that I have won it. Damn. He loves the fight, but like sitting there and ruling is just not for him. Damn. This conversation is so good. I wish we had this in the show. Robert is talking about how like there's been more than enough times where he's thought about just like stepping down as king, and the only reason he doesn't is because the crown would go to Joffrey. And he said, the thought of Joffrey on the throne with Cersei standing behind him whispering in his ear, my son, how could I have made a son like that, Ned? Damn. So Robert, like a big part of him is like, I can't even believe my son turned out this way, which like it's not even his son, but I feel like this is a big hint at like this isn't Robert's son, because a son like Robert would a son from Robert would be like Gendry, like somebody who is interested in war and interested in like the very similar things to King Robert. Like sons always follow their fathers, I feel like. And Marjorie's the same age as Cersei. I mean, not Cersei, sorry, Sansa. I thought in the show, Marjorie looks very similar age to Cersei, but in the books, she's the exact same age as Sansa. Robert had one moment where he was like very similar to younger Robert, and Ned started getting super hopeful. He was like, oh, this is it. Like, if I can tell this man everything I know about the Lannisters and find proof, like we can get rid of the Lannisters. It's really like Ned's whole mission is get rid of the Lannisters. Sansa is like locked in on the Hound and Jaime at the tournament right now. Ooh, the Hound won! Sansa said, I knew the Hound would win. Interesting comment from Renly. Littlefinger had bet that Jaime was going to win, and Lord Renly had bet that the Hound was going to win. And then Lord Renly said, "A pity that the imp isn't here with us. I should have won twice as much. I would have won twice as much." Which I feel like should be the biggest tell to Ned, like, oh, Tyrion would never bet against Jaime. Ooh. We're talking about Sir Gregor, and he's about to get married for the 3rd time, and there's like dark whisperings about the deaths of his first 2 wives. Yikes. I never even realized like Sir Gregor had a wife. Now I'm learning he's about to have his 3rd. And then they had a sister that died, and then a father that died. And then after that happened, Sir Gregor got the lands that they had, and then the Hound fled, basically. And he went straight to the Lannister house and like swore his sword. Loras Tyrell won the tourney with Sir Gregor. It's interesting too because I feel like Loras Tyrell was always talked about as like a good fighter, a good knight, but we never really got to like see that. Dude, it's crazy that the Hound just chopped off his horse's head like that and then started trying to attack Loras. And then out of nowhere the Hound comes and is like, "Stop." Ned noticed that not once did the Hound send a cut to his brother's unprotected face. Interesting. I've always felt like the Hound, no matter what, always cared for the Mountain just a little bit. Like, not a ton. Like, obviously there's a lot of tension and drama there, but he obviously still cares about him a little bit. Thoros of Myr. A melee? A melee? What the hell is a melee? Like, they just all stand there and fight? It's like a mock war, basically. A mock battle. Thoros of Myr won it. Sansa said to Arya, "You must be a terrible dancer because she has bruises." Yeah, she's not really dancing, Sansa. Dang, Arya turned down Sir Barristan and Jory for lessons because she would rather have Syrio teach her. I think Sir Barristan would have been kind of sick. Where's Robert's daughter? Robert has a daughter? What? Robert's first child ever was a daughter. I don't think she was born from Cersei, from the way they're making it sound, but she would be 17 or 18. The young lords of Storm's End had doted on her. Gendry, the girl in the veil, the boy at Storm's End, none of them could threaten Robert's trueborn children. There is a Robert daughter in the veil. Obviously she's illegitimate, but I didn't even realize he had a daughter. All we saw was the sons he had. Varys is here to see him, but he disguised like really well. Like, Ned had no idea it was him. So maybe Varys was the one who paid for Gendry's apprentice fee. Why can I not talk today? There's a lot of mentions of ghosts. There's ghosts in King's Landing, which I never even knew about, or the Red Keep, which I never even knew about, and then like ghosts in Harrenhal. And I'm hoping we get more on that, because I think like the ghosts in the castle is really fun. So in the melee, hopefully I'm saying that right, they wanted King Robert to fight in that because then he would get killed. At least that's what Varys is telling us. The Lannisters. They're plotting. Varys is making it so obvious how uncrafty and schemy Ned is, because he like tells him about this and then Ned's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And then Varys was like, "Well, what were you gonna do? Go tell the king?" Like, nothing would have happened of that. Like, there's no crafty and schemy bone in Ned. It's so funny. That's so interesting because Varys comes to Ned and it just seems really sus, but he's the only one like actually being honest. And he's telling him like, we can't trust anybody in this court. You are the only one who's like Robert's true friend. And he's like telling him all this tea, like you and Sir Barristan basically. And Ned's like, And he immediately goes to, Robert must be told. Ned, it doesn't work like that in the court. You gotta be crafty. You gotta be crafty and schemy. I love having Varys in the book. I want more Varys. I think it's fun that we had Varys come to Ned. I think this was in the show as well. We had Varys come to Ned and say like, here's the tea. We can't trust anybody here and we gotta be crafty and schemy. But Ned is starting to figure it out. He's starting to get there. He finally got the confirmation that it was poison. So, yay Ned. Yikes. They're eating horse because they're starving, basically. And Bronn was like, oh, the Dothraki do it all the time. And Tyrion said the Dothraki also left deformed children out for the feral dogs. Yikes. Dothraki are brutal, which we knew they were brutal, but like, that's brutal. Aw, they killed Tyrion's horse, the one he got from Jaime. Who the heck is Jack? There's somebody named Chiggin and like Jack? Tyrion said he like, Jack was basically gonna defend Tyrion and Tyrion like made him put his sword down. Who the heck is that? They must just be guys that came with him from the wall, I'm assuming. Interesting. So when Kat called all the guys in the dining room, not all of them stood up, only like a dozen of them. And 2 of them had been Freys, but then they sat back down. So we're already seeing that the Freys don't like the Tullys. Not the singer coming with them. I think it's interesting that Tyrion was like, oh, I'm not stressed about it. Like, Tywin will send men to come save me. Poor Tyrion. Interesting. That's why it was so smart of Kat to be like, oh, we're going to Winterfell. And then she takes him to the Vale. Because even if Tywin did send men, they're not going to find Tyrion. Tyrion's remembering all their names so he can pay them back. I do think it's interesting that like days and days and days Tyrion is trying to convince Kat that like this wasn't him and this wasn't his dagger, and never once does Kat like doubt it or question it. And to me, I feel like if I had somebody who was making a very strong case where Tyrion is like, what did he say? He was like, how many times must I swear that to you? Whatever you may believe of me, I'm not a stupid man. Only a fool would arm a common footpad with his own blade. Like, I feel like if somebody had said that to me, I would be like, you're right. You know, it would give me some doubts at least. And it's just kind of surprising to me that Kat has no doubts. Like, she's dead set on it's Tyrion. And it just makes me question her intelligence just a teeny bit. Littlefinger tells people at court that he took Kat's virginity? No way. Or did Tyrion just make that up because it's Tyrion? Ew. Tyrion said, and you're a fool, Lady Stark. Littlefinger has never loved anyone but Littlefinger, and I promise you that it is not your hand that he boasts of. Yuck. Shoot, Tyrion was getting somewhere with Kat and then riders appeared. Okay, the mountain clans are here. That's a bummer because Tyrion was finally getting through to Kat, like just a little bit. And then we got interrupted. Tyrion said, on my honor as a Lannister. Tyrion's so funny. We have Sir Roderick who like shouted Winterfell and then rode out, and then The other guys were like screaming other stuff, and then Tyrion said he felt a sudden urge to leap up and boom out Casterly Rock, but the insanity passed quickly. I love his little comments, they're so funny. Yikes. Jack, whatever his name is, he's dead. Tyrion wanted to leave Cat alone, but he couldn't do it. Like, leave her to the men, like the bad guys. He's trying to like work his way into the like men's minds, basically. Like, he's trying to get them to trust him. It's very interesting seeing how Tyrion works. Like, he has such a like interesting approach on things. He really tries to worm his way through people's heads. Kat said that he could keep the axe because he might need it later. And then Tyrion was like, thank you. And then she said, save them. I trust you no more than I did before. I mean, Kat, you clearly trust him a little bit if you're letting him keep the axe, so. Interesting. The harp player, the music guy, is still alive, but he had acquired a shadow skin cloak. I wonder what that is. And there's shadow cats growling behind them. Tyrion went up to the singer and said, Craven rhymes nicely with Raven. Three-eyed Raven? Is Bran gonna turn into a Craven? Tyrion said, before we were rudely interrupted. I never bet against my family. Interesting. Makes me think of, like, you know, later in Game of Thrones, how he sides up against his family. It makes me question a lot when he has a statement where never is italicized. I never bet against my family. And that wasn't just Jaime, that was his entire family. So I think that's a very fascinating comment from Tyrion, especially because, like, we know show Tyrion. This is where it's really hard, is I have to remember, like, I have book Tyrion and I have show Tyrion, where show Tyrion is very much like he hates his family. The only person he loves is Jaime, whatever, versus book Tyrion. All I know off of him right now is he cares about Jaime because Jaime has been nice to him. But when he makes a statement like, I never bet against my family, I find that very fascinating because I think show Tyrion would bet against his family, and I think he did. So I'm interested to see what happens with Tyrion's story. Arya's chasing a cat. The kitty has one ear. So cute. Syrio dabbed her wounds with Mirish fire. Interesting. So this cat is the last cat that she has to get. And they call this cat the King of the Castle. I'm pretty sure this one, the cat itself is called Balerion, isn't it? Or at least in the show, maybe? There's a spot in the Red Keep called the Trader's Walk. And I'm wondering if that is the spot where Joffrey showed Sansa Ned's head. The Trader's Walk. It's interesting. She caught it and then kissed it in the forehead. That's so cute. Marcella and Tommen found her with a cat and they think she's a boy. And then one of the, I think it was a Kingsguard, one of the guards said that you can't, the Septa was like, how did you get in here? And then one of the guards was like, oh, you know, you can't keep these kids out. Like, they're like little rats. They keep coming in. That makes me think of Varys and his little birds. It's probably what he's referring to. She just juked out a guard. Go, Arya. And then she just like tackled Tommen. She's learning. She's getting so much quicker. Ned told her that the Red Keep was smaller than Winterfell? That's insane. And then Arya has dreams of the Red Keep, and in the Red Keep it's like endless. It's like this maze. You guys, the tie between Arya and Jon is undeniable. Like, it's undeniable. they're the only two that are having these really weird cryptic dreams. And we know Bran is having cryptic dreams, but he's having like full-on visions. But then we have Arya and Jon who are having these weird dreams. Jon is having dreams about Winterfell and Winterfell being completely barren, and Arya is having dreams of the Red Keep and it being this endless maze but completely barren with blood dripping off the walls. What does this mean? And she couldn't find a window anywhere. She would hear her father and she could never like catch him. It would just like go further and further away. That's insane. Those dreams have to mean something, where it's like Jon had that dream of Winterfell and I was like, okay, maybe he's going to be the last Stark standing, basically, like Winterfell's going to be barren. But now I'm thinking the same thing with like the Red Keep, of like, why is the Red Keep this maze that's completely empty with blood dripping off the walls? I need to think on this. Arya is definitely like spiritually inclined, because we've heard a lot that there's ghosts in the Red Keep and she's down with the dragon schools right now. She makes the same comment as Tyrion, that she feels like the dragons are like watching her even though they're dead. Tyrion made that same comment. And then she also felt like there was something in the dim cavernous room that did not love her. Interesting. She has this feeling that like the dragons don't like her. The dragons want to eat her. This is crazy. She's in like, I think this is one of, is it Maegor? Maegor? I think this is one of his secret spots because she's in this like really dark, hidden area. Uh-oh, they just like locked Arya in. I think this is, I mean, in the show it was Varys and Illyrio. So I think it's still Varys and Illyrio having this conversation. They don't specifically tell us who it is though, so we kind of have to figure it out, which is fun. But the show kind of spoiled that for me. Little comment that Lord Renly and Sir Loras want Robert to basically remarry to Marjorie to get a new queen in. Varys knows that things are getting messy. We have Stannis Baratheon, we have Eliza, we have Marjorie, Littlefinger, Tywin. Yikes. Illyrio makes a comment of, "You're more than a juggler, you're a true sorcerer." I feel like Varys actually does have like some magic. So does Varys get his birds from Illyrio? Because he just told Illyrio that he needs 50 more birds. She said that she's blind and lost and pretending that Nymeria was padding along beside her. Aww. Arya's trying to tell Ned like what she heard and Ned just doesn't believe a word of it. Dang. Ned didn't believe a word she said. He was like, oh, there's circuses in town. You're fine. Yikes. Yoren's here. Aw, Arya said, when you ride back to the wall, would you bring Jon a letter if I wrote one? That's so cute. Poor Arya. She's so worried for Ned. Darn, that's so disappointing because Arya genuinely did hear something, but because Ned, because the way she said it, it just seems so unbelievable that he didn't hear a word of it. And I'm wondering if maybe his outcome would have been a little different if he had listened to Arya and been like, oh, this is not good, and kind of like prepared himself a little more. But I think he just undervalues how crafty and schemy this court is. Hey, we are back with Ned. King Robert said, the whore is pregnant.
The whore is pregnant.
I mean, this whole debate, it definitely, I feel like a lot of it is because Jon is a Targaryen, but the whole debate is like, I don't think Robert is unjustified for being so like, we need to kill Dany, we need to kill this baby, because at the end of the day, it is a threat to your throne. Like, it is a problem. So I don't think he's super unjustified for wanting to kill Dany and the baby. Ned said, mercy is never a mistake, Lord Renly. Sometimes it is, though. Oh, Ned is crazy with it. Robert said, have you forgotten who the king is here? And Ned said, no, have you? Damn! Littlefinger said, kiss her and be done with it. Sir Barristan said, kiss her? And Littlefinger said, a steel kiss. Littlefinger's crazy. Varys said that Mormont can't be the one to kill her because he would die in a really horrible way. Ned just quit. If only this, like, had worked, you know? Like, if in this moment Ned had quit and left, things would be so much different. As he's walking out, Grand Maester Pycelle had said, in Braavos there's a society called the Faceless Men. Ned kind of feels like he's like giving up because he hasn't, you know, answered the whole Jon Arryn truth and everything. Ned's thought process is so interesting. This is like his thoughts. He says, and when you have, you know, the answer to Jon Arryn, whatever, what then? Some secrets are safer kept hidden. Some secrets are too dangerous to share. Interesting. I think he's thinking about Jon. Littlefinger's here. Ned said he was half tempted to turn him away. You should have turned him away, Ned. Ned said, at the moment, I cannot think of anyone whose company I desire less than yours. Interesting that we're talking about the Faceless Men already. Littlefinger just made a comment saying it was like up to him to convince them not to hire the Faceless Men, which is just so crazy to me because I didn't even know the Faceless Men were a thing until we were there. But he's like, hey, it's a good thing that like a random sellsword is gonna do it because he might mess it up and then Dany will still be alive. But if a Faceless Man did it, then she would be dead. Interesting. Sowing the chaos. He loves the chaos. Littlefinger is so funny. He said, it's not murder I find amusing, it's you. You rule like a man dancing on rotten ice. I dare say you will make a noble splash. That's so funny. Yikes. And just like that, Littlefinger has roped Ned in on his little plan. Just like that. Ned, just go. Just leave. That's such a bummer. It's interesting too because I definitely think Littlefinger like has so many angles in this where like if Daenerys does live through this, then obviously that's gonna piss off the Dothraki, then that sows more chaos, and then he can kind of do like his meddling and his scheming in the middle of all of it. It's crazy how like crafty and smart he is. But I definitely do think both sides, like Ned and Robert, both have very biased opinions on this, where it's like Robert obviously hates the Targaryens and is not letting that go. So I see Ned's perspective, but then you also have Ned who also is probably thinking about Jon and thinking about like, oh, is this still the man I used to know? And he's kind of like testing Robert in a way. And it feels like Robert just lost that test for him. And that's why, a big reason of why he's so pissed off is he's like, this isn't Robert anymore. But it's very fascinating. It's so messy.
Kat made a comment of, she's talking to Sir Donald, and she said, sometimes she felt as though her heart had turned to stone. It's like an interesting comment to me because I don't really get that vibe from Catelyn. She's talking about how 6 brave men had died and she didn't weep for them, but like, I mean, your husband's Ned Stark, so like that doesn't surprise me, but that doesn't make me think she has like a stone heart. Like that's a very interesting comment. I'm excited to get more of Liza Aaron because I feel like I'm still like getting to know some characters, and Liza Aaron is one that I'm like really excited to get in the books because so far, from what I'm hearing, she's like super paranoid. And we knew she was paranoid because she refused to help in Rob's war and she was like, I need the men for myself. But we arrive in the Vale and Sir Donald was saying that they want to go like hunt the Mountain Clan guys because they're causing so many problems, and she won't allow them to do that, and she wouldn't allow them to go down to the tourney and whatever. She said she wants all the swords close to home. So she's super paranoid. Tyrion is getting really close with Bran now. Kat is finally starting to question if she might be wrong. Girl, yeah, you're wrong. But she's definitely noticing how kind of like snaky Tyrion is, because she said that he started as like a captive, bound, helpless man, and like now look at him. So he's definitely very manipulative. Oh, Uncle Brendan is the one greeting us at the Bloody Gate. That's cool. Kat doesn't trust Bran at all, which is honestly a very fair judgment, but Bran has been getting closer and closer with Tyrion, and she's like, I don't trust this dude. But she did say he's one of the fiercest fighters she's ever seen, which is crazy. I just learned where he got the blackfish as his emblem. That's so fun. So Brendan and Kat's dad are always fighting, and he's like the black sheep of the family, but he was like, we're fish, so he's the blackfish of the family. Interesting. And then the war ended by Brendan choosing to serve Liza and going to the Eyrie. I wonder why Liza though. They're closer than Kat and Brendan? That's a good point. I never really thought of that. To have them like not be warden of the East anymore, and then it gets passed over to Jaime, and then you have everybody in the Vale basically like assuming that the Lannisters killed Jon Arryn. That definitely creates a lot of discontent in that area. Okay, so Lord Nestor is like higher up, and people kind of want him to rule because Liza's a little out of it and Robin is really weak, or Robert is really weak. And then Lord Nestor also proposed to Liza and she turned it down, so that's very interesting. Oh, that's crazy. They have to like climb up to the Eyrie basically. They have like steps, of course, but that's crazy. Interesting. Maya Stone is like a 17, 18-year-old girl at Lord Nestor's Keep who is offering to take Kat up to her sister because her sister's like, oh, I want to see you now, like do a night hike basically. And Maya Stone stepped up and was like, oh, I got it, like this is light work. This is Robert's daughter, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh, right there. And Stone was an illegitimate name in the Vale. That's Robert's daughter. Ugh. So she meets Maya Stone. Super nice, super sweet. Definitely Robert's daughter. And the first thing she thinks of is like, oh, this is an illegitimate child. And then she thinks of Jon. And then she gets angry. Really, Kat? Kat is so like, I mean, I get where Sansa gets it from, you know, like the whole like higher up mentality, the whole like highborn mindset. Like they're not wrong for it, but it just aches me out where she's like talking to Maya, and Maya's talking about like her man. She's like, oh, he's a squire to Sir Lynn Corbury, and we're gonna wed as soon as he becomes a knight, whatever. And Kat immediately is like, no, they're not gonna wed an illegitimate child, whatever. And I'm just like, oh, Kat, why do you have to like rain on everybody's parade? Like, just relax. It's none of your business anyways. Oh, this would suck doing like a night hike basically. Oh, Maya's so sweet. Kat is like terrified right now and she's just like very gently guiding her across. I like Maya. maybe this will soften Kat's heart to illegitimate children, because she seems to have a bias against all of that now. Which is just crazy. Like, they're all kids. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, that's the thing that I can't wrap my head around, is like, does it really matter that much if it's a kid that was born out of wedlock, basically? Like, what does that have to do with the child? I don't know. It's just ridiculous to me. Kat's over here like climbing for her sister because her sister demanded it, and Liza was sleepy. Liza was like, "Oh, wake me up when she gets here." Sisters. Oh, Liza's younger than Kat. I never knew that. I thought Kat was the younger one. Yikes. Imagine like climbing all night to see your sister. You finally get there and then she just immediately starts yelling at you. I would lose my mind. It makes a lot more sense as to why it took so long to figure out the seed is strong from everybody, because Robin's name is Robert. So when Jon Arryn was dying and like grabbed Liza's arm and said, "Robert, the seed is strong," she thought he was talking about Robert, which she had made the comment in the show, but I was like, wouldn't it be obvious that like he's talking about Robert the King? Because Robert, this makes more sense. They have the same name, so it's very easy to mix the two up. Kat makes a comment of no castle is impregnable, and then Liza says, "This one is. Everyone says so." I feel like that's like a little foreshadow. Like there's gonna be like a battle at the Vale, at the Eyrie, and it's not gonna go well. Interesting. Kat made it to her sisters. I don't know, y'all. This is gonna be really interesting. I'm definitely excited to get Liza like more in the books though, because in the show she's really kind of just like this crazy lady, where it's like we've already gotten so much more context on why she's crazy. I mean, she's had like stillbirths, and Kat made a mention of a miscarriage, so it definitely like sounds like she's been through the ringer, and then she's just super paranoid and super like, I don't want anyone or anything near me. And then I think it was Sir Donald had made a comment about the suitors and how she's like turning all of them down, or oh, it was Brendan. Brendan made a comment about it, and he made a comment of like, oh, she said she's only gonna marry like whoever she wants to marry. And that just tells me she's waiting for a Littlefinger, perhaps. Yikes. Okay, we're on to Ned. Ned and Lyanna had a conversation in the past, and Lyanna had said that Robert would never be faithful to her, basically. And Ned was like, well, maybe when you guys get married, it'll be different. And she was like, no. That's very interesting. So she kind of like wasn't stoked about the engagement with Robert in the first place, it seemed like. Like she kind of knew what type of man he was. There's so many mentions of Ned's secrets. Like, I feel like every Ned chapter we get, I feel like we've had the most chapters with Ned than anybody else. And almost every single chapter, there's a hint at Lyanna. Like, it's so obvious. And he's seeing Robert's illegitimate child in the brothel right now. And she, like, makes a comment of, you know, the baby's dark hair. And then Ned said he thought of the promise he made Lyanna as she lay dying and the price he paid to keep them. Promises. More than one. Interesting. Because the promises we know is that Lyanna wants that secret hidden from Robert. But is there more to that story? Because he says promises, plural. Interesting. AKA Arya. Guys, I'm really hoping and praying that anybody but Kat is the mother for Arya. The ties between Jon and Arya, I know they could be a mislead from the author. I know they could be, but they're so often that it's like, okay, at that point, like it's a little too much for it to be a mislead, because it's like every Arya and Jon chapter we get, there's a tie-in between the two. I don't know how it would work, but my brain just can't let go of the idea that there's something to Arya that's different. And I don't know. Maybe like a Shara Dane or something. What if a Shara Dane had Arya? No, guys, I'm tripping. especially because we had Kat who said, like, she had a conversation with Sansa, and Sansa was like, are you sure this is my sister? Which, like, comments like that. But it's just like, she had a conversation with Sansa, and Kat was like, yes, that is your sister, like, of course. But what if Kat is in on this? You know? Like, what if Ned told her about Arya, but never told her about Jon? I don't know. I might be off my rocker, but I feel like there's something with Arya. I feel like there is. Because why would he say promises when it's just one promise? You know? Like, his promise was to protect Jon. That's one promise. So what's the other promise? Arya? I'm loony. Ooh, not Ned comparing Robert to Rhaegar and being like, I wonder if Rhaegar had frequented, I can never say that word, frequented brothels. Somehow he thought not. Yikes. Interesting. I definitely feel like this is a little foreshadow. We have Jaime who just pulled up to basically bully Ned, and Ned was like, if you kill me, Kat's gonna kill Tyrion. And Jaime said, would she, the noble Catelyn Tully of River Run, murder a hostage? I think not. It's interesting for like when Jaime is prisoner, wondering if he still has the same mindset of like, oh, she's not gonna kill me, which is kind of why he says whatever he wants to her. Poor Ned, he just lost all his men. He said Littlefinger and the City Watch found him there in the streets, cradling Jory Cassell's body in his arms. Poor Ned. Ned, we should have left. We should have left. That was a quick chapter. But yeah, there's definitely, I don't know guys, I'm sure my Arya theory is like not at all plausible and totally off my rocker, but I don't know, it's fun to think about sometimes, where it's like, okay, well, what if, you know? I just think it's interesting, like, there's so many comments of, like, how different Arya is from everybody else, and the only person she's similar to is Jon. So it just makes me think, like, okay, why is Ashara in this mix somehow? Is she maybe similar to Arya? Like, how is Arya getting compared to like Lyanna? I don't know guys, it just, then Ned goes and makes a comment like, the promises I keep for Lyanna, and it's like, what do you mean promises? It's just Jon. Or is it? Guys, I need you to tell me your thoughts on this, or if I'm completely off my rocker, but like, I could be onto something. Probably not. Probably not. Also, I love that Dany made the call to have Viserys walk, and he's been walking ever since. And I wish we kept that in the show, because in the show, Dany is she's so protective over her brother, where like now we definitely see like her making that call for him to walk, and like her keeping him walking. Like, she's definitely coming into her power a lot more. She had to like really sleep with Khal Drogo to get him back in the like party, Viserys. Girl, let him walk. Let him walk. It's not worth all that. Interesting. There's like these really creepy statues, and Jorah said that they had likely come from the Shadowlands beyond Ashai. I want to go to the Shadowlands. So we're going to the Dosh Kalen right now, which is very interesting because that's where her prophecy comes from later with her baby. And I never realized that was the Dosh Kalen, because we didn't really get to be with them again until like season 5, right? She like casually calls Khal Drogo my sun and stars. Their relationship is definitely changing a little bit. So it's this conversation that really sparks it for Dany. She's talking about like, she's talking to Jorah, and she's like, you know, Viserys is right. Like, it is kind of messed up to string him along. And then Jorah was like, Viserys couldn't sweep a stable with 10,000 brooms because like Viserys was saying he could sweep the 7 kingdoms. And then Dany was like, what if it wasn't Viserys though? Like, what if it was somebody else? Could it be possible? Interesting. Jorah's basically saying if Rhaegar had this many Dothraki, he would have won. But because he didn't have, 40,000 of soldiers, a lot of them threw down their weapons after Rhaegar got defeated. Jorah also made a comment of, the writers have no taste for siegecraft. I doubt they could take on even the weakest castle in the Seven Kingdoms, but if Robert Baratheon were fool enough to give them battle. So the thing with Dothraki is, like, if you leave them, they're not going to succeed. But if they go into battle and you, meet them in battle, they'll succeed. So it's kind of like, you have to trick the Dothraki in a way. When it comes to, basic sieges and basic wars, they're not very good at that. That's tea. That's going to be used later. He's talking crap on Ned right now. So the only people who actually live in Vaya's Dothraki is the Dosh Kalen, but it's big enough to house every Dothraki, and there's a prophecy that one day all of the Dothraki will be called to Vaya's Dothrak. I'm wondering if that's that moment in season 5 when Dany burns the temple or whatever. But we're not following the context of the show, we're following the context of the book. But I definitely feel like that prophecy is going to come into play somehow, and I definitely feel like it has something to do with Dany. The Blood Riders sometimes share the Cal's women. Ugh. It's interesting though, the Blood Riders, if their Cal dies, they also die. Damn. She said, sometimes Daenerys wished that her father had been protected by such men. And it makes her think of Sir Jaime, Sir Barristan. She said, when her son sat on the Iron Throne, she would see that he had Blood Riders of his own to protect him against the treachery in his King's Guard. Damn. Ew. Viserys is so annoying. Period. She just hit him. He keeps calling her slut. Is that really the only thing you could come up with, Viserys? What are we, 5? That's crazy. I'm happy she defended herself though. Especially because it seems like Viserys really doesn't understand the power she's coming into. Interesting, she will cuddle with one of the dragon eggs and it makes her feel stronger. Interesting. She's getting strength from the draggies. And she's talking to her baby, she said, you are the dragon, the true dragon. I know it, I know it. I'm really eager to see what happens with the whole, Khal Drogo, Midi, that whole mess in the books, because I think that's going to be really interesting to read, because there's so many differences already with Dany's story that I think it's going to be really fascinating. And you just know Dany is touched with a little bit of magic already. You can already just see the influence of these dragon eggs and the influence of her dreams. It's definitely going to play a big part when it comes to that time. But I don't know, I do think it's interesting too, because at the end of the day, we're watching House of the Dragon, and House of the Dragon, when you're pregnant, you have a dragon egg for the baby. So it also is fascinating to me that she likes to cuddle with a dragon egg when she's pregnant. I feel like that's a little tie-in with that. But it makes me wonder if when Dany had her stillbirth in a way, or whatever happened, that's where I'm really excited to read it in the books, because it was kind of confusing in the show. But it makes me question if her baby was a dragon, because Midi had made a comment of scaled and clawed, and so I'm okay, is her baby because of the witchcraft and the magic, did it turn into a dragon? But maybe that happens literally. It's very fascinating.
Okay, guys, let's read. It is so stormy and pretty, and I'm so excited to read, but Celeste went a little crazy, and it's kind of wild in here, so I'm sorry. But we haven't been able to do much today because our Wi-Fi gave out, so I'm really excited to read. But guys, it's supposed to snow tonight in California. Yikes. Oh, that's so cool. Bran's horse responds to like touch and voice because he can't use his legs. Oh, that's cute. There's like a little winter town right outside of Winterfell. And it's like pretty barren right now because it's been summer, but in the winter, everybody kind of comes closer to Winterfell. Interesting. Theon's in his cocky sleeping around phase. And Bran made a comment of like, Robb seemed to admire Theon, but Bran never warmed to his father's ward. Interesting. The boys are noticing that their wolves are different. Robb said, sometimes I think they know things, sense things. Definitely. I definitely feel like there's a big element to the wolves that is either going to be touched in the books or like later in the other books. But I definitely think the wolves play a big part. So Bran knows that potentially the secret he knows is with the Lannisters, and he said that every time he hears the name Lannister, it like sends this like shiver down his spine. Like there's something there that he needs to remember, but he can't remember what it is. Bran's finding out that they killed Jory. He said, why would anyone kill Jory? That's my question, Bran. I also do think it's interesting. I meant to mention this and I forgot, but the fight between Jaime and Ned in the show, he gets like stabbed by one of the Lannister men, and in the book, a horse just falls on him. And I think that difference is very interesting, where I feel like the show is kind of really pushing the Lannister bias on us, versus like in the book, like it's a little different. Aw, they're in the woods now and Bran is like remembering memories of Jory. That's so sad. Bran said, I didn't catch anything, but Jon gave me his fish on the way back to Winterfell. Sweet Jon. Yikes. The wildlings found Bran. Interesting, one of the wildlings might be a deserter from the Wall. Osha! The direwolves are helping defend Bran right now, and Bran made a comment that like Summer basically like dodged a blade, as if Summer knew that that blade was gonna be there. That's crazy. Summer was savaging Hallie, pulling glistening blue snakes from her belly. Ugh. What does that mean? Theon saves the day. That's crazy. They were gonna make Robb kill their direwolves. We're out of focus. That's insane. Theon's too like unserious. Oh, 2 of them wear the black. So 2 of them are deserters? Interesting. We've got Osha. Damn. Theon's kind of cold. He's like very cocky. He's very much like what you would expect from a Lord's son. Like he just seems like he's having a lot of fun, and a big part of me like wonders if this is kind of like a mask for Theon, because like he's so, he's so conflicted with like his family and the Starks and whatever, but we don't get to see that till later. So I'm wondering if because he's so cocky and he's so kind of like, oh, just kill him, I'm wondering if that's just like a really big like front for Theon. But it's very fascinating having more Theon because he's so interesting. Anyways, y'all, these were some fire chapters, but that's all I've got for this week. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.